I will call the meeting to order for Lincoln County Board of County Commissioners, September 9th, 2019. If you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, shall we start with the minutes?
I read the minutes and I find no problem with them. I move we accept them.
I'll second that. Any further discussion?
I read them too. No, that's fine.
I will say that the job description that I finalized has EMTA on it. We had talked about making it maybe like an upper level position for the ambulance. So do we want to?
You mean
This is probably my
the
motion.
combined one that we're planning for emergency manager and EMS.
We don't need to change the minutes necessarily because this is
Yeah.
probably what
You
I
think
said
it-
in my motion, but
you
I just
think
wanted to clarify that.
They have to be at least in EMTA or
That's what we
higher,
had talked about. It
Yep.
kind of gives more of a,
higher
Yeah.
level of a position.
yeah.
Well,
That
of
way
course,
it's
if
not
you
just
do-
someone signing on for their first rodeo. You know,
Yeah.
if you've gone to school for that round of it, then you've already done.
Of course, when you do that, then you're limiting people that are under that level too,
Oh, yeah.
that may be qualified. Well,
How I feel, but
They can always be doing stuff to get upgraded all the way. That's incentive.
let's call for the vote on the minutes because
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
that really isn't a change to the
Yeah.
minutes. I just
All
wanted
right.
to mention that. Those in favor vote aye.
Alright.
Aye. Carried. Okay. Invoice from Lincoln Park Manor to do with a new tank and bowl and seat for a toilet, $205 from Phoenix. No, there's something we could probably get locally, huh? I don't know. Arjo, the floor lift. Oh, why are we getting this again? Isn't this the lift?
I actually think I should have just stuck it in your box.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I called about this and we did verify that it is the yearly
Beth
renewal.
sent it again, and I just printed it.
Okay. Well, it was an old one before, because this
we
one.
should get that probably locally.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna sign this unless
If it's
I'll sign that one. And then
good, you did this.
the
we did-
fire sprinkler had something replaced in labor for $860. It just says labor and equipment. It doesn't say what it was.
This is already a done deal in the future. They should be buying locally.
Well, what we need to do is produce a memo, I believe, about what you said as far as.
Yeah.
Well, we need to coordinate too with this, with the staff at Lincoln Park Manor, like Jonathan, because he's probably doing this, right? He's making
Yes,
decisions.
yes.
Well, he needs to coordinate with us, because if we're paying the bill, we should have a say on what he's
Where
buying.
it's
Now, if
going.
it's gonna go out and get a mop for the Ford, that's $20, that's one deal, but when you start talking over $100,
Well, no, we gave him a limit, more than that, didn't we? He could buy up to, wasn't it $500?
We don't have anything on paper. That's part of the problem.
Yeah.
There hasn't ever been. I think we need to create a memo and either make a resolution that's, you know, a countywide policy
we were gonna do
limiting
it.
certain things.
We were
gonna do
working
by
with Grace on the
department.
appendix A, remember, in the lease?
Yeah.
We were gonna list in there who's responsible for what, but we never put a dollar amount and stuff like this. We should say try to buy locally,
Right.
but we didn't do that, so I can't blame him for doing this.
No,
But
and that's where they
we should
did
push
get
that
it.
because, yeah, we need to promote
agree.
locally. I agree with Jim did before.
So
You saw that.
That's all.
I'm gonna make a note on here. Nobody paid. The tank's already there, and then this is the fire sprinkler, but this isn't just the update, this is some sort of, it says material, labor, and equipment, $860.
I suppose they did some inspection of the fire system and they got a,
Well, the inspection yearly happens, which we already paid for, but
What-
that was some sort of, they must have
what's this
called them.
and I emailed you guys
Yeah, it's-
about,
Yeah, let me read that as
yeah,
correspondence.
I emailed you guys about this guy from DH Space called me about that.
Okay, Mr. Gene Varr of DH Space, the fire door people, called and stated he will be coming here to do a door inspection of the doors at LPM in the near future. I stated we have a bid from them from April of 2018. He apologized for the lack of follow-up on this issue. He stated if the doors need fixed or replaced, they would give us a new bid. He will contact Jonathan, the LPM maintenance person, to set up a time and date to do this. Don't respond. So, but
Yeah.
I think they should have to stick to their old bid. If they gave us a bid and we accepted
Well, they may
it,
give us a cheaper
unless it's
one.
lower.
Well, he said they may give us cheaper, and maybe, this guy, he was really a very receptive person. He said maybe the doors aren't really that bad, if they are, maybe they can modify them and fix them, or adjust them and fix them so they would be, inspection would pass, so you may
Okay.
not need new doors. But I'm gonna give it Jonathan, see if he get with this guy, so I'm gonna follow that up too, so when he comes, I'm gonna try to meet with him and be there
Okay,
for all that stuff, okay?
okay.
You got that email,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
And,
I'm wondering if we shouldn't send an info memo to Grace, whatever it is. Tell him what the status of that door is, because he indicated the other day that he had a check and he was ready to pay it as soon as we assured him that we were working on those doors. And this may constitute working on the doors, and he might send us that check.
Yeah, that's a good
But I
point.
think an info memo or a phone call, if you want, to tell him this is the sit rep.
Something,
that
some
might send him the money.
communication, yes, because,
It'd save us a lawsuit,
we
among
are,
other things.
well, we are indicating we're gonna, trying to proceed to fix these doors one way or another here.
okay, well, let me continue with correspondence.
Okay.
Lincoln County Commissioners, Kansas Public Notice number KSQ 19200, and then a permit number, Quartzsite Quarry Wastewater Treatment Facility. Enclosed is the public notice regarding a proposed Kansas water pollution control permit for the reference facility in your county. In accordance with KAR 281661, this notice provides interested parties an opportunity to comment on or object to the issuance of the permit as being publicly noticed. Actually, it says public notice. Specific information concerning comments and objections is found at the end of the public notice. Okay. So,
Who's that from?
Yoder Farm is the applicant. Oh, there are several in here, sorry. One is not for us, or just one is ours.
It's either a city or it's Meyer, and then capital over.
Okay, I'm looking. Dorado, Dodge City, Hayes, Dorado, Green Acres, Sweet Bend,
Well, that's just
Junction
something around.
City, yeah.
Just-
Yeah. Didn't that say Quartzsite on it?
Regarding the low water crossing they just replaced and put in,
I don't know. Great Bend, Overbrook, Cedar Point, Hayes, El Dorado, Emporia, Garden City, Dodge City, El Dorado. Would we just get one no matter
It's
what?
potential.
Hutchinson, Arkansas City, Coffeyville, Norton, Scott City, and Oswego, or Wego. Yeah, I don't even think we have one in here. It's just probably a notice to all the counties
Yeah, it's just,
for the general
To
It's a-
cover it.
notice,
cumulative hearing.
yeah, they granted a permit, I guess, to court
I
something
thought, no,
for the reference facility. And then there's a public, the public can comment on it or review it.
well, it is
or
saying
whatever.
Quartzsite Quarry, but it wasn't listed in here, but that,
Wastewater treatment facility, you got a wastewater treatment facility out of Quartzsite?
so maybe that was a
What?
of a
It'd be a
bid.
lagoon,
Oh,
it's a
Well,
wastewater.
that'd be Sean's business, ask Sean.
Who's Sean?
Sean Escrow.
Oh. Okay,
I normally just hang it up in the bulletin board up there.
as a
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah,
Can you pass that, please? Okay. My correspondence will be the combined job description of emergency manager and EMTA. So I basically just did a lot of copy and pasting from the one into the other, and I put a 24-hour shift requirement as one 24-hour shift, which I assume that there should be some collaboration between I left it say that the commission is still the boss of the emergency manager. I didn't put the emergency manager under the ambulance director, but I did put the portion of the job that is the EMTA taking a shift on the ambulance under the director of the ambulance. So maybe even when Derek comes in, we could just briefly discuss that with him.
And you brought up a good point, because if he's on a 24-hour shift, at EMS shift, and we had a incident, would he take off and come to handle the incident for the emergency manager job, or would he still be on shift for EMS, you know?
He'd still be on shift for EMS, so that's gonna be an issue you're gonna have.
That's a good point. We gotta figure out what to do about that.
And what do you do when there is something that's here and that occurs?
Well, first of all, it's a win-win, because if there is something going on, you think the ambulance is going to show up anyway. And if this person is capable of giving life support help, then you'd think that'd be the primary goal of what they're doing.
I agree
But
with
the emergency manager is to manage the emergencies,
he
to
wouldn't
get
be
the
able to-
resources
yeah.
that are needed for the people on the scene. And if he's inside the scene, then he can't get those resources. That's the only issue.
But saving someone's life doesn't take hours upon hours. I mean, if you're there to give your CPR and to get them on some sort of transport, then all of the emergency management coordination doesn't happen in the first 30 minutes.
Sometimes it does. If they have to call hazmat, if they have to call a helicopter, if they have to, and some of that's done by dispatch, but some of it's not. Some of it's done by the emergency manager.
Well, I would hope we would have collaboration with whoever's showing up to the scene, our own sheriff's department, whoever's in the communications office, and any of the volunteers that are coming. I mean, you'd think like fire department, all of those people would be coming. I mean, you'd think there'd be some workable scenario there.
We need to get Derek involved and see
Yeah.
if he can let.
The other question that I have is probably for Derek, is once a paramedic is on scene, they aren't really allowed to, so let's say they have an ambulance call and he's the highest tech there. He's not allowed to give his care of the patient to a lesser level. He has to maintain his care. So he could not stop and do emergency management stuff. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that's the rule.
Yeah, you can't leave the patient in need to go and do something else.
Yes.
It could well be that he's going to have to ride the ambulance to Salina. And that's gonna be 2 hours that he's gone off-site
But
too.
the whole concept of the state creating an emergency management department is they call it a chain of command. So you're going to have other people that you are supposed to rely on to kind of pick up where the communication is left off. I mean, it's not all on that one person, although they're supposed to be the contact person.
Well, we need to talk to Derek
Yeah.
and see if it's
And again, you're
workable
talking
for
about
him.
one 24-hour period
Yeah.
in any given week of
Yeah.
the year. If it doesn't happen in that 24-hour period, then all of these things are null and void.
And the likelihood of that happening probably is a low
100%.
possibility, but we gotta think about that, the way we're doing this job.
I don't see how the common sense side of that doesn't say that you would want someone involved who has those skills already. I mean,
Yeah, I agree with that, but we gotta go through the legality of what position they're at, and like Don just pointed out.
Well, we just need,
well, this may be a very good opportunity to go ahead and train some of those people who are taking shifts at the ambulance shed on what they would do as second person in command if they had to be responsible for some of that communication.
well, I think we ought to put this job description together as you have it, and let's get it to Derek and the folks and see what they say about it.
Well, here is this. She gave good job, John. Thank you. She gave 3 copies.
I'd say there's 4 in case you.
Oh, well, do you want one?
Well, if, I
There
just
might be-
texted Derek to see if he's coming,
Okay.
but
I
There
think
might
he's
be some
gonna-
edits that you may want to do, but I, for the most part, copy and pasted and just added a few lines of, like, the time requirement. One of the questions that I guess we need to figure out is if they have this person on a 24-hour shift, do they still do 20 hours and they get the 4 hours overtime, or do they do, you know, how is that going to work is kind of how we have to decide.
or if I do 16 hours,
Right.
and
To-
24.
Right,
okay.
so like one week, yeah. And I kind of saw it as if the ambulance director really needs a fill-in, that person can take 2 24-hour shifts. Because I think, I mean, I had a brief conversation with Derek, and we can bring it up to him again, but if that person is not actively out on a run, there's no reason that they can't do some of their paperwork at the EMS office. And do we want to move that stuff down there, or how do we want that person to facilitate their time between the two entities?
They probably still need an office here, don't they, for the emergency management stuff?
I mean, there has to be an office,
Yeah.
period. I just was saying, I don't know if you want it here or there.
Well, yeah, move it all one
Well,
place,
he's got a lot of stuff in here that you wanna keep separate from down there.
probably, yeah.
I don't know why it does this every time.
Your IP address was used without your
Did
knowledge.
you get hacked?
I don't think so. It's just every time I open up our commission mail here for some reason.
That's weird.
I don't open it at home. I don't even know if I can because I only have it saved with the Wi-Fi when it opens up here. Okay, I have a new piece of correspondence as well. This is from David Gersman. I don't know. Doesn't seem like this is the beginning. This came to the hospital and us. The hospital, Tanya Seitz, is that how you say her last name?
Yeah.
Steve Granzo, Bill Houston, and then all of us as commissioners, the commission email. Was there a $350,000 plus discrepancy in the May and June operating income and balance statements of Lincoln County Hospital and the clinics? And if so, will the Board of Hospital Trustees and the Commission be provided a revised May and June operating income and balance statement report in their September regular meeting materials agenda packet according to correcting any error that occurred in their next agenda meeting packet for the next board meeting? In the reports provided the trustees in June for the period ending May 31st, it appears that May's salaries and wages and employee benefits were added to the current year-to-date totals roughly twice. This appears to have had the effect of overstating the salaries and wages and benefits combined expense for the hospital and clinics by more than $350,000 and inflated your operating losses by that amount as well as in the May 31 period ending reports. This discrepancy was carried through the operating income statement for the period ending June 30th, and this report was also given to the trustees and Commissioner Lohman containing the discrepancy. It appears this discrepancy was apparently discovered and a downward revision to the current year-to-date totals for these two line items was made on July 31st financial statements. Financial information I reported on used the information contained in the operating income statement for the period ending July 31st for Lincoln County Hospital and the clinics, which already contained the corrective revision. Assuming there aren't any discrepancies in the hospital's July 31st period ending reports, I stand by my reporting. Even with the revision, the July 31st financial reports are concerning clinic losses more than doubled year to year, more than $370,000, and a large loss of a budgeted $180,000 Medicare adjustment to hospital revenue seems to have contributed to the hospital unit swinging from reporting a surplus of nearly $100,000 in the prior year at July 31st to a $282,500 loss at the end of July 31st this year. The hospital's fiscal year doesn't end until March 31st. The 340B forfeiture payments and some impairment to other Medicare reimbursements are certainly contributing to these losses, but increased salaries and benefits appear to be a prime driver of these reported higher total operating costs and losses when comparing year-over-year results. David Gerson, and he listed his phone number. Have you seen that?
No.
Year-to-date totals for the salaries and wages and employee benefits listed twice on May and June, and then corrected in July.
With no notation. With no notation.
Okay. I don't have anything else in the inbox. I do have a call in to KDADS to request that we be able to do some sort of conference style meeting. I was given a name in the department. The title is commissioner. I don't really know what that means, but it's under KDADS. And that's where we stand on that. Did we want to generate a response to the county attorney who just forwarded our information to Mr. Hay? Are we going to officially unemploy him, or?
Yeah, I think that's a given.
Okay.
Maybe we should discuss with her the
see if there's any little spider webs hanging on there that ties into us, but I see no reason to continue his employment.
Maybe we should discuss it with Jennifer, the whole situation, where we're at with all that.
Well, we need to inform her, because at this point, the only thing she's done is served as a liaison between another attorney and us. I mean, we need to tell her what we want. There's no asking, she doesn't have any answers. I mean, she hasn't provided any answers thus far, and it's her lease. So, at this point, that's why we hired Mr. Hay, but we have never officially, severed that relationship. So that's why she's still counting on him to have responses to our questions.
Yeah,
I don't feel that any of it's been honestly productive. We've hired him and spent a good bit of money for minimal answers verbally, and everything that's been written is stuff that we already knew prior to hiring him. So I'm not very impressed. I think we either need to seek out additional attorney help,
Well,
or
we have an attorney, we ought to,
yeah, she needs to just follow through on her own lease and create the eviction process
yeah,
here.
that's her job.
Yeah.
well, we probably should meet with her and just still talk over all this, but what our intentions are with Mr. Hay and her. So everyone's on the same page what's going on.
When are we gonna talk to our supervisor or commissioner or whatever from
I think we
KDM?
need to well, I'm waiting on a call back. I have a
Okay.
call in
From where?
from KDAD's.
Oh,
I've spoken to several people there, I'd say about 5, and unfortunately, kind of like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing type of scenario.
yeah, that happened.
Because what I'm really upset about is even Sue Brown, who we spoke with, who seems to be very knowledgeable about the licensing process, she never let us know that we were already on the license. All you have to do is pull it up and it says that we are the property owner. So in addition to the property owner, you list the management company and the,
But even though we're on the license, that doesn't mean we have the power to operate the facility, maybe.
no, but we can request the changeover of the other 2 entities that are on that license, because we're already on it. So that's the facility license. The second issue is, what's most important is the Medicare, Medicaid payment agreements. And that is a whole different office, which we need to get in contact with. And none of that was disclosed to us by anyone that we paid to tell us these things. So I guess I should have just spent a little more time on the phone myself, but, I mean, it's kind of hard to be making any kind of definitive suggestions
Well, I
when you're
hope-
by yourself.
The commissioner has some suggestions. It is clear to me that Mr. Grace and his team is not going to continue to operate that nursing home after his lease runs out. And so, should he pay the arrears that he has, he'd be up to date, but we still need to find out how we're going to continue the operation of that nursing home when he leaves.
Right. We need to find out a transition time. We have people and, right, that's a lot to do too, because it takes time. And like with all the Medicare, Medicaid, all the licenses, all the inspectors and all that stuff.
So I'm hoping the commissioner can give us some assistance, and certainly point us the way on things that we've got to do pretty quick.
So I'm just going to notify our county attorney that we are not interested in any more opinions from Mr. Hay, and then we understand that you performed the execution of the current lease with Lincoln Park Manor, and we would appreciate your beginning the eviction process according to the terms of the lease.
Well, unless he pays his rent.
But even if you
Well, that doesn't stop us from beginning the process.
Yeah.
ask her if she can meet with us too in executive session, to discuss some of this stuff. There are a lot of details that we should discuss more than just on an email like this.
Got it. Okay?
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. And waiting, did he respond back? Is he coming? Did you get a response?
I haven't,
Okay.
but I kind of forgot we moved it to 10:30.
Oh, okay,
Well, it's
so,
about 10:30.
any more correspondence?
So,
Are we being presented plans today by Pick? Is that what she's on for?
no,
No,
she's going to visit with you about something.
okay, but it's not like the presentation, because we were
No.
asked to, oh, not forget, we were asked to notify the department heads, or at least through Ladonna, when we're going to be presented the plan so that they can be part
So
of the
they can be
discussion, so I
involved
don't wanna
with it,
forget
right.
that, okay? And then, so this Thursday evening is our meeting with
Yes,
EMS?
What time is it?
1,800
6
hours.
o'clock,
6?
yeah, sorry.
18.
Thursday,
1800
1,800 hours. Mr. Military.
Okay, anything else we need to,
Have you talked to Kerry? Do I need to revive, make sure he understands?
I haven't talked to
I'll
him.
talk to him today.
You're gonna order it? You do the
Yeah,
order, I'll pay.
I got the.
You know how to do all the
Yeah.
ordering, just go right
I got the
ahead.
date lined out and I'll make sure that they're
Yeah.
all squared
It's
away.
for, make sure there's
Yeah.
enough for enough people.
Yep.
And I'll pay for it, tell
And I
him.
got, what do we have down there? Is it gonna be 10 people?
we said at least 12 to 15, because we're gonna have the
Okay.
volunteers probably if they come to the
I'll tell
meeting
him.
since it's a schedule.
Is it 15 plus the 4 of us?
Yeah,
It'll be 19?
Probably,
So it'll be 19?
or 20,
I'll call it 20 then.
yeah.
okay.
Make it a nice round number. Thursday at 6, okay.
Okay. Do we have any more correspondence that we
Well, I'm
need to
trying
bring
to
to the
think
table?
if we do, so when did, Alexis, on when you talked to K-Dad's, or,
Yes.
well, what, did you set up an appointment with?
No, he's gonna get
Oh,
back
they're
to
gonna
me
get
about
back
setting
with
up
you
an
on the
appointment.
time and all that stuff.
Mhm.
No, we need to really push this, because
Yeah.
this is a complicated, messy thing, and this could take time here, we can't
Well,
let.
I also spoke to another management company outside of the ones that we had discussed prior, and they made it sound like we were overcomplicating things, and that could just be because of our ignorance to the situation. But it also could be that they've just never dealt with anything like this before.
Well, you know, you're dealing with health care issues, with licenses, all that's complex, just like the hospital stuff is.
Got it, thank you.
Maybe it is too complicated, maybe we're making it too complicated,
Okay, I swear that I stuck a note in the box, but you must not have got it from Jean Meitler. Oh, maybe, sorry.
but Brenda's been dealing with Gene Meitler, right?
You already spoke to him? 9/5, so that was what, last Thursday?
Thursday and Friday.
You did speak to him at, so,
He called me Friday and wanted paid now or would cancel his lease.
Cancel his lease.
Then I called Brendan and Brendan would check into it.
I went through everything, I found the original lease, and then nowhere in the lease does it say,
how soon you have to be paid?
it says annually, just annually.
Okay,
That's the only spot in the lease where it talks about payment.
did you discuss to him that?
I talked with him about that, and he said he doesn't care. If he doesn't have a paycheck, in 7 days, he's terminating the lease.
And that was
I
on
said, well,
Friday?
Yes, well, it may be something once we get this, I'm looking into it, I'm trying to find where the gravel records are at, so I can get totals figured out for you for the last 2 months. He's like, it doesn't matter. If I don't get it in 7 days, we're done. Well, we may want to talk with him further about this after he is made whole,
Yeah,
and have it either put in the lease monthly, or let him know that,
I mean, in my personal opinion, the lease speaks for itself if we aren't guaranteeing payment, but I think it's an
Well,
unspoken expectation
Yes.
because we do send out payments.
we were doing it that way, so he got
Mhm.
assumed that's the way we do it,
Mhm.
even though it might say yearly. We should make it with him, talk to him, saying, well, okay, we're gonna make it yearly, or we're gonna make it monthly, put it on the lease that way. Then we don't have misunderstandings like this.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I have
Did
gotten
you-
those totals this morning.
You got,
I got the tickets from Liz this morning. She showed me how she puts them in, but, so they're not in the system yet because I wasn't able to.
yeah, you
she-
can't
She was
do
running
all the
late to put them in the
research.
system,
Uh-huh.
so I went through and made paper copies of the totals, and I have copies of those if you'd like to see them.
So do we, yeah, we may as well do with that while we're waiting on someone else.
Well, we don't have an issue about paying him.
No,
No.
but
Just so you can see the totals,
Right,
made
and-
copies of it.
But
You
we have
do
to-
because
we-
I'm only authorized to pay at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So if you wanna
Oh, I
pay
see what you're
somebody
saying.
a different cycle, you have to get,
Yeah.
So we need to make a special motion today.
Are these all separate copies for us?
Yes.
Okay, so going back to July 18th, this is the,
These were the only ones that said Wolf Creek or Meitler on
Uh-huh.
the tickets.
So how much is that total?
$2,902.
Okay.
So that you'll see where the yards is scratched out and it says money. Liz, the way she did it was she'd always write the money figure in there instead of the yards. Because it's $2 per cubic yard. So instead of accidentally double paying him, I scratched out the yards portion at the top.
Is that
Well,
how
we
she's
need
always
to-
done it?
That's just how she showed me this morning before she ran up here to the office. I called her just as I was getting back from fuel.
What were you
Is
asking?
there a tally sheet like this for every pit?
I believe so.
And, okay. I need to come over there and look at some of those files with you.
And we-
So,
We need to know if they're all yearly or monthly or what.
well, we need to look at these and make sure that those yards weren't paid out. Okay, let's stick on this issue. I would entertain a motion to issue a check to correct this situation, and because I think we were going to also further negotiate with him the price of some of the larger stone. Have you been to that pit yet?
I have
Okay, so we can deal with that later, but I'd like to not let this expire.
No,
Let's
we
just go
need-
ahead. Since we were paying monthly, I think
Yeah.
we just need to issue the check and not try to argue the point that we don't have to according to the lease. But I'm not
No.
interested in amending the lease.
Not now, anyway.
No,
I'll
there's
make-
just
I'll make a
something
motion to-
tabled for the future that we may want to consider to update leases.
Update the lease or modify it to put in the yearly or monthly and then make sure they know that.
Okay. Do you
Okay,
want?
I'll make a motion to pay Wolf Creek Gravel Pit or Mr. Gene Meitler the sum of $2,902 for gravel
Since July 18th.
since July 18th.
To correct.
To be
today.
paid in the next several days, because I know you normally do, Don said, the end of the month, but we need to pay this week.
Have you asked
how much is it?
2902.
$2,902? I'll second that, but I have a question, Brendan.
Just
Have you asked any of the guys if they've hauled anything out of there since August 1st?
they said
No.
they don't believe so.
Okay, so this would be to date, from July 18th to date. I just wanted that.
Here's one with red on it. That wrote it in red and didn't realize it didn't copy the color red over.
I just can't tell that that's a 9, sorry.
So is that no issue? You can get a check out then this week, Don, for this,
We'll pay it with mid-month, cause we'll be doing mid-month,
which is this week?
10th or the 12th.
Okay.
So
Well, and I'll call-
normally we have to have one of the phone bills to text us by the 15th, so it just kinda depends on if we get the phone bill in.
Okay. So to be sent out, I mean.
Yeah,
as
I'll
soon as
call
possible.
Mr. Meitler, I know him personally real well, and I'll just say we proved it today, and it's,
Okay,
if we haven't approved it yet, but if we do, I'll assume.
that's fine. I'll call for the vote. Those in favor for issuing the payment, vote aye.
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 Now-
None opposed.
Did
He
you have a
voted.
second? Second? Did
No.
you second?
Oh, I
Or did you
seconded it. I seconded
Lex
it.
seconded
Sorry.
it.
Yeah.
And I'll call Gene, say we proved it today, and the check's in the mail. Hopefully this week, and he'll be okay with that, I think.
Yeah, it'll either be Thursday or Friday
I'll tell him maybe that late.
or Wednesday.
So don't, he said 6 days from Friday, if it ain't there on Thursday.
Should we
I'll
have
tell
him-
him not to
Tomorrow's the
close
10th.
it, please.
Should we tell him to come and pick it up that way?
No, I think if he knows it's in the mail.
Well, I'll tell him, I know him real well, he's a nice guy.
Well, I have a feeling he thinks it's more than that.
Well, he said several thousand. But we can show him this ticket.
Just make sure that you ask the guys that are in that. and
Yeah,
they
I'll
vote.
go through it. There were some more tickets, but they look like all courtside. But I'll go back through. She had already separated out which was what pit.
Okay, and we need to, yeah, just,
And it might be that he was maybe thinking a couple thousand, if a few of these were those larger boulder sizes. I saw an email that he was requesting more for those ones.
Well, if he wants more for those, we gotta.
we had talked about that, and we said, there's no way to go back and measure what we've already hauled out, but if he would like to renegotiate a different price for that material specifically, we'd like to do it by the weight and not by the yard, because a round boulder in there doesn't necessarily take up all the yardage space that gravel would. So if you wanna relay that to him, just that we're willing to renegotiate a
I'll-
price for the bigger
I'll talk to him
material.
about the bigger rocks, if he
But
wants a
that's gonna
different
be-
price for that or something.
Yeah,
That'd be a modification to the lease, right?
well, I think, yeah,
We'd have to say, regular gravel's this $2 a yard, and maybe the big rocks or something else, a ton or a yard or whatever, however we do it.
while we're on that subject, Dawn, did you send the information from the contact person I sent you to Schwab Eaton? When you asked me, I emailed you.
No, I did not,
Okay.
because I had emailed you back and said, is that really the person that can give historical information?
Oh,
Maybe I texted you.
no.
So, because Larry only bought the property 2 months ago, I don't think he can really give the historical information as to why it looks like they've done preventative measures for other slides. So I was kind of thinking that Alan,
Well, I think it all comes back, not him, but I think it comes back to the person who's done the work, which is Mr.
Kenny Brando.
Yeah, Branda. I think that's who it should be then, because I think he's been hired out there privately many times to do different, he would be the one that did the most work on it.
Because he said in the email that it appears that there was, or Michael had mentioned something about another slide. I kind of wondered if maybe somebody got confused about a second slide that was off-site, but
I talked to the Russell County Commissioner, well, he's not currently, but was a Russell County Commissioner, and he said they had a similar landslide in their development. Maybe that's what they're talking about, because it's
That could
not,
be.
from what I understand, it's not where our little housing plan is. There was one on the Russell County side. And he actually, I was speaking to him about it, he said, oh, well, I'm glad you did get an engineer because we didn't, and we've had continuing issues. So we do want to have this full analysis done, but do we need to,
maybe if I can get that Alan,
the head of the
yeah, the homeowners association
president?
number, because I don't think it makes any sense going out there and having them look around for something. He needs somebody who can kind of tell him historical, because he said there are some, I'm assuming there's riprap someplace that appears to be like it has been trying to prevent something from sliding, so he was like wanting some historical information to see why they did some of the things that they did. But you're probably right, Kenny Brando would probably be the person to,
talk to.
yeah.
Well, he's been doing a lot of that work, so he knows about that stuff, right?
I'm gonna ask for the numbers. And then we can
I
forward.
kind of forgot about it.
Who are we dealing with at Schwab Eaton?
The guy that signed the letter.
Okay.
That doesn't help.
Okay, that's okay.
But
It's okay.
I get it.
That's okay.
It makes, no, I know I don't
Could
have
Derek forget?
it. He is on a call in Ellsworth County, so
Oh, he's on a call. Then I guess he can't be here.
So Dawn, I'm assuming you didn't have a job description, so what do we want the ad to say for the emergency manager EMT position?
What do
We need to give Dawn something to actually advertise. We already approved that the advertisement's going to take place, but we need to actually give her instructions on the ad. Do we still have the rest of that out? The rest of the ads out?
I took the ones out because you guys asked to have
To
those.
review?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they might still be online, but
That's
I
okay.
didn't put them in the paper.
That's okay, but we're gonna close, right now, we're just gonna temporarily close the ads until we look at applicants, but we need to give her something.
Well, what you
to
just
actually-
made up, Alexis, today, so it looks good.
That's the job description,
Oh.
but that doesn't go
Right,
in the
so we
paper.
Oh.
need emergency manager EMTA position. It's full-time and benefits.
This is what we put the last time for just the emergency manager.
Okay.
Lincoln County is accepting applications for a full-time emergency manager. Applications, job description, and benefit information is available by contacting the Human Resource Officer, blah. This position is responsible for developing and maintaining emergency operations plans, coordinating resources in disaster situations, and acting as a liaison between local, state, and federal agencies. Experience in public safety and/or emergency services is preferred. Applicants must be able to obtain a Kansas emergency manager certificate within 2 years of employment, possess a Kansas driver's license, and be free of felony or serious misdemeanor convictions. So I guess we would put emergency manager slash,
EMS. what's the word, normal for EMS office, what do we call that? EMS employee?
Normally,
Or
like
and-
advertised an EMT, AEMT, or paramedic.
So what do we put?
You want-
Emergency manager slash EMTA or higher, or what, I don't know if you can say higher.
This is a combined position with a requirement to fulfill one shift as an EMTA on the ambulance crew. And I think we should list it.
Well, if you
between-
just put EMTA, then people may think that's what you gotta have, just an EMTA, not even a paramedic maybe, you know what I'm saying? You're limited.
No, a minimum, I think people in the
Minimum.
field know
Know
that that's
that,
a
yeah.
minimum of, like,
Yeah.
a 3-tier system. I would say, I would list it, pay based on experience, 30 to 35,000 annually. That's what I'm coming up with a dollar.
Yeah.
If we take the dollar times what we're paying out, approximately 33 something annually, so it would be 30 to
So
35.
we're 16 an hour more or less.
Right. Just to stay in that ballpark, and then we know that a 6-month raise will come, a year raise will
Yeah.
come, and then the turn of the year.
And they're
reduction.
getting benefits, of course.
Right.
Well, you have it right
Last time
there,
we
that
said
should be the title, emergency manager, EMTA.
Should we run Brendan in early?
Sure.
Well, if Derek's on a run, he's not gonna be there.
Right, and Rhonda's not here yet, and it's,
Come on up.
although she
Brandon.
is listed
She's
now.
calling.
Oh, she's calling in?
Oh,
So
yes.
then it's time now. I'm sorry.
She's gonna call.
Oh,
Yeah,
she's calling.
It's
Oh,
about
okay.
1:45. Dawn, do you need anything further for that, to put the ad in?
No, I'll figure something out. But have you guys actually talked to the director?
Only me, so
I
that's, I was
have, to
hoping.
Derek, I have,
Oh.
about
then two
doing
of
A
that.
combined position?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay. Cause that's,
he thought that'd be good, to me, he says.
Right,
Well,
and
then
the concept was if they're not busy there, they can at least be doing paperwork
Well, and he
for
said,
both jobs.
he said
you know.
would be a full-time then, that person be happy, cause now it's part-time and then they'll get near the benefits and stuff.
Well, and I was suggesting even, let's say the emergency manager was working just his regular office hours, and our crew gets a call out. Now we have one person already on paid staff that can respond to a second call. So you'd only have to find one other person as a volunteer to fill in at that point. So I think that's,
And we came
the
up,
best
and
part
we
of
were
the
talking,
bargain.
a while ago about in the situation, as if this person was on a run for EMS department, and also there was a emergency management issue. I think we should say, if you're on that run, you gotta complete that run on your job, on that EMS job. And then go to
call
do
your
your,
second in command and you tell them to
I
part.
wouldn't wanna restrict it, by saying complete the job, because I'm looking at my experience, if we have an unattended gunshot death out in the country, there is a good chance that the ambulance will be out there for a couple hours.
Mhm.
And we need to at least have Derek or somebody have the flexibility to swap out crewmen, because you could have a guy standing around there during the yard for 2 hours, you know that.
yeah,
And so we don't wanna limit them by saying you have to stay on that EMT run till it's over.
well, that's true, you can swap out, I'm not against
Yeah.
swapping out if somebody's available to
Yeah.
swap out. Yeah, I agree with you there, Jim. I'm just saying if there was nobody there, like Don was saying, if you had a paramedic,
You can't leave your
you
duties
can't leave
on
your
your
duty,
shift.
or let your underling
But
take it over.
in the
because
rare event that
That'd be
something
rare.
happens
It'd be
that
a
needs
rare,
his
yeah.
attention
I know.
while he's on a 24-hour
It would be
shift.
extremely rare.
That's why
yeah.
you're the second in command.
Yeah.
That's why you have
Yeah.
volunteer people
Yeah.
to come tend to the ambulance.
Right.
I mean, those are the reasons that those things.
Right.
And if it is an actual disaster, you'd think everyone would be in
Well,
alert.
yeah, this,
And everybody's gonna be doing everything then, so we won't have to worry about one doing this job or
I'm
that.
just, I think we don't.
Okay, I'm gonna answer this. Hello.
Hi, Dawn, this is Rhonda.
Hi, you're on with the board already. We have you on speakerphone.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You
It's
just.
Alexis.
It is. It's okay.
Hi, I just wanted to touch base with you, let you know we have numbers starting to come back on some of our quotes. And I'm trying to hopefully have some things to share with you soon. But I do have a question for all of you regarding Aetna. They have come back and said they would like to have health statements to finalize their numbers. My question is, do you want to do that, or do you want to see what our numbers are from Blue Cross and United Healthcare and our partially self-funded quote.
When you say health statements, does that mean you'd have to get individual question and answers from the employees?
Yes, it would be a statement that they would put in an envelope and get back to me, but it asks all the medical questions because of the lack of claims history from the state of Kansas. So it's something we can opt to do if you'd like to see that, or if you want me to see where we're at on the other providers we sent it out to and see if we want to do that. It's just totally up to you. It's always very time consuming because we usually have things people forget to fill in and have to go back and forth. But we're happy to help get that taken care of if that's something you want to see for sure on the Aetna.
So what's the, so Blue Cross and Blue Shield and United Health don't require this?
Blue Cross does not require it. United Healthcare is giving us a preliminary quote, but again, they're going to probably need health statements to finalize, is what he's telling me.
Do you think that the health statements provide a more accurate assessment?
I think they do, Alexis, but I think also getting them filled out accurately is difficult. With Blue Cross, since most of your people are currently enrolled in Blue Cross, they have your claims history. So their quote's going to be probably the most accurate quote because they have that data. Where the other providers,
I understand what you're saying, but how much time are we losing if we don't go ahead and do the health statements just to be able to get, I want to be able to get a good comparison because this is the first year that we're actually somewhat brokering this out.
Mm-hmm. I can check with preferred or with Aetna to see how quickly, and I would like it to be a health statement that we could use for United Healthcare as well.
Right.
So I am doing some checking into that. If you want to proceed, we can get those out. I can get with Dawn and try to finish this up and get things out as quick as possible. I would like to be able to do it electronically if we can.
So
When's our date?
Dawn says she doesn't think it's going to be possible to do it electronically. You mean to have everybody do it on the computer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to have to be. Yeah, everybody's.
Yeah.
Everybody except for highway department would be fine. So highway department and some deputies are not.
So
and that's my other concern. If we don't do it electronically, is getting them back quickly from your staff.
And when's the time, cutoff time we gotta have this by?
Well, if we're wanting to let the state know by the end of the, by October 1st, we would probably need them by the end of the week.
is any of the response you're getting indicating that we would be better off staying in the health plan provided by the state?
No, not at this point. I mean, obviously because we don't have claims history. I will know
But even
more.
with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I will know more from Blue Cross, and I can probably judge the Blue Cross, Alexis, by the end of the week. I hope to have those numbers. Plus, I have that state of Kansas meeting on Friday morning, so I will know more about that, where we're headed there. I should have a pretty good idea on the Blue Cross Monday or Tuesday of next week, I would think.
Since we've primarily have Blue Cross, most of our employees, and I think most of them want to keep, I would think keep Blue Cross unless, say, the others would be cheaper but still provide the same services. Do you think it's worth, I think maybe we should just look at United Health and Blue Cross in a timely fashion here since, because this Aetna may hold us up, huh? Is that what you think,
She's
Rhonda?
saying that United's still going to need these health statements regardless.
United's gonna need them.
We just need to make the decision that we are or are not going to stay in the state plan by the end of the month.
Well, Rhonda, if we put out the paper questionnaires and require them back this week, it'll be another week before you're confident that we'll have all the accurate information. Is that correct?
That's probably correct. Now, keep in mind, if the Blue Cross is competitive and looks good, we would know to basically, if we could make a decision if we want to send them the letter to get out, still pending, again, we would still have time to look at everything to make a final decision. But if the Blue Cross looks interesting to you all and it looks competitive, competitive, you could still say you're getting out, but not commit to Blue Cross until we look at the other two quotes. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
that probably is the way we're headed. How long is this questionnaire? Is it 2 pages?
It's usually a front and back, and it asks for instance, I think the biggest thing on there for all of you to kind of think about is, and I don't know, it seems that people don't always answer it. If we do it electronically, they can't move forward until they answer that question, and I know that's kind of a hassle. But you have to have a list of all your prescriptions, and you need to put in that data, which includes the milligrams and those kinds of things. So they need to be when it asks a question, very specific on it, on especially prescription drugs, because that's a lot of times people forget to put that information on there. Then we suggest they put them in an envelope, and those come to us since we're HIPAA compliant for your group with our business associates agreement. We look them over to see if there's anything missing before it goes that we can possibly catch to save time. So it's something, I can get a copy of the health statement from Aetna. He was to send it to me today, and after we talked on Friday that we were probably going to need health statements. What happened with Aetna was they took on a county or city group last year that they didn't have data on, and they had a couple of really huge claims come in, and so said they won't do any because they didn't have the claims history that they needed from the state of Kansas to know that there was some large claims, regardless of who it is. Just the number of total dollar claims didn't tell them. They didn't have that for this year, and we don't have that on your group either. Where if you're independent of the state, we have that information quarterly. So,
Well,
I think it's, I guess to me, I think it's worth doing them, but I also think Blue Crosses will be pretty accurate because they have the history, but at least we can see if the other two, to me, based on what we have to offer in Kansas right now for fully insured, it would be nice to have those numbers. But I can get that health statement over. If we have those who want to do paper, they can. I'll check with Aetna to see if they can also do electronic as well. I know I can do what we call Easy App, which is a health statement that is electronic, but we open it up for so many days or usually no more than 2 days and have people go in and complete them. But again, if they click and done and they haven't answered the question, it's not going to let them save it and close it. And I know that's really hard because I don't have a group in the state really that just really likes to do anything all electronic.
Now, in your expert opinion, one of these three, Blue Cross, the other two, are going to compare quite favorably with the state. So if I was thinking if we go ahead and we can go ahead based on what we have at Blue Cross Blue Shield, if they're competitive, we can go ahead and terminate the state without having all this information in yet.
That's what I think we can, but I think we should do our due diligence and pursue the health statements, unless Blue Cross just comes in extremely great and we think, okay, that's the best, we probably ought to do that because they do have your history. So we're comfortable usually with if Aetna had your history, I would be comfortable with their numbers because I know they're going to be accurate based on, the fact that they would have the prior claims. So I agree that we can, if Blue Cross looks favorable, we could write the letter to the state and let them know we're going to leave. And then, again, all of us know that we are still looking at the other two carriers for comparison to the Blue Cross proposal.
Well, I think to be honest brokers, we need to compare all three. So I would think that based on your expert opinion with Blue Cross and Blue Shield being competitive, we probably ought to terminate the state and ask for the questionnaires.
Okay. Well, let me get moving on what that looks like, and if we can do those who would want to do electronic, but if we want to get that paper up there, if there's something to, Don, I can visit with you to see how we want to handle that to maybe expedite that process, and we can talk about that. But situation. And as I said, that meeting is on Friday. I will be there. I'll have all the details on the state and any benefit changes that they have. And then I should have the Blue Cross hopefully, Monday or Tuesday of next week. And I'm hoping later this week actually, because, again, they have the claims. They haven't really asked for much information that we haven't had for them. So I'll proceed then with that if that's okay with you three.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
Yeah. fine.
So, what we need to notify our department heads that their employees need to return these by the end of the week.
That would be fabulous, Alexis. That would be fabulous. And I will try to get I'll get everything worked out hopefully this afternoon, and Dawn and I can talk a little bit more in detail. But yes, if those supervisors could facilitate that and encourage that, the sooner they get them in, the better. And if the county could just even provide or have the employee put it in an envelope and put their name on the front, so we know we have that health statement.
May I interrupt you?
Sure.
I think we're getting some looks here like this isn't going to happen this week. What about if we give you permission to proceed with what you're doing with Blue Cross Blue Shield and exiting from the state plan and giving notification, but allowing us 2 weeks to have that information to you? And I know that puts a crunch on you, but we actually have some departments with people on vacation all week. I'm just hearing from the audience here.
I'll work with whatever schedule you guys allow me, and then again, Aetna and United Healthcare have everything we have at this point, so it's just a matter of getting those health statements. I would think we would need another 4 or 5 days after that for them to finalize numbers. So whatever I can do to help your supervisors, have them let me know. But if they can collect them and get them ready with a list of those for each department, and I think we have some of that from you already, Dawn, so I can check them off and have Sherry work on that. But yes, take what you need so they're accurate and in, but I encourage everybody to fill them out as completely as possible. If they have questions, call Sherry Banks in our office, and she's happy to help.
What's her number?
And also 620-227-6940. And if you have further questions, Sherry will connect you to me.
How do you spell Sherry?
Sherri, and her last name is Banks, Banks.
Okay.
What's that number again, please?
620-227-6940. And would you like for me just to have her put a cover letter out?
I would like her to email me what you need printed so that I can send that directly to the department heads. Can I give you the email?
I'm ready.
LC, as in Lincoln County, Commission at lincolncoks.org.
Okay, I'm going to read that back to you, Alexis. LC Commission, lincolncoks.org.
You have the at in there, correct? It's at Lincoln. The LC Commission at Lincoln.
At Lincoln. I did not have that. Thank you.
The at sign,
Yeah.
that little round thing.
And Rhonda, do we have any HIPAA problems with our department heads collecting this information?
They need to be in sealed envelopes and make sure their name is on the front. Your department heads need to understand this is HIPAA compliant information. Under no circumstances should they open those. If they have a question, usually Dawn would be your HIPAA privacy officer if they want to send it there, or they can mail them directly to me if they would rather.
Oh, I think we need to collect them at a central location. Could I just request that each individual turn in the department head needs to disperse the information, but I'm going to request that the individual bring it back to Dawn's office. Is that okay, Dawn? That way you don't have to do the out, but you can just collect and then get it to pick. Okay.
That includes us commissioners.
I think that would probably really just, a little stress from your employees knowing that, and Dawn is considered your HIPAA officer as
yes.
the county clerk.
Yes.
So she cannot put those. If she does and spread something, then she's liable for that as well as the county, and I know she's aware of that, so.
I'm gonna,
But I think that gets you a real secure place with Dawn.
When we send that letter out, we probably ought to have the HIPAA compliant statement on there, so people know that it is HIPAA
If you
compliant.
want us to put something together for your approval, you can change it. We can send something to you in a Word document, so you can, change
Just-
anything you would like.
email me at that commission email, whatever it is that you want them to fill out. I will be sending out a notice that says, you're gonna receive this questionnaire, distribute it to your employees, have them fill it out, and return it to the clerk's office by the end of the week. And then we know we'll have a few behind that are not here this week.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put by the end of the week, and understanding that would be fabulous. And that way, if there's just a few stragglers, we can probably get in what we have. If we give everybody maybe a week and a half, and then that way, I'll get them all picked up from Dawn.
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a plan, so I will work on getting that out to you. It'll probably come from Sherry Banks, copying me, and obviously sending it to this email. And I will be in touch with Dawn so we can gather information as needed.
Okay.
All right, well, I appreciate your time, and again, we'll know more probably next week. So I think at least we can make a decision whether we are in or out of the state with once we have that Blue Cross quote. So
Yes.
we will be talking and gathering information so we can continue this process.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you all. Have a good
No,
week, and
good.
thanks for your time today.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care.
I turned that volume up, so.
Turn it down for like a phone call. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna finish this email.
Who's that to, the department heads?
I'm just preliminarily letting
Now they're
you
gonna
know
send
that's
to you,
coming.
Alexis, the forms that we all need to fill out, and then you can distribute them to all of us, okay?
Mhm.
Poor Don gonna get buried with more stuff.
Who are we missing in the courthouse? We're missing John Paul. I have,
And Jerry for.
I have Jerry on here. I need to ask him what that is. Oh, good catch. Woo!
Sorry.
Reflexes.
The exhaust, or the exclamation may have been a little loud.
Wow.
Sorry about that.
No, you didn't do nothing, it just fell over.
Jim just sits back. He must know where he's supposed to be at.
Farther back out of the camera.
One of these days I'll come in with a tripod and I'll set it up and it'll be so tall and it'll get you.
It'll get all of us, and then we're in trouble. Those front ones
You
need
need a
wet.
little water in there,
Yeah.
you got,
Yeah.
I just use my fingers.
That's all right.
it's his water, so I don't care.
It's his water. Here.
You can use my water, it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks, that's right.
I will email you guys that.
Oh, I zoomed really close on your face there, Randy. Sorry.
See what kind of shave you got.
Everybody might have got really up close and personal with you for a
Oh,
slight moment.
I wasn't saying nothing bad, was
I think we got a temporary
No,
break here.
but they might have been able to see every pore in your face.
I'm gonna run down and have a secret meeting.
I? Okay. Break time, I guess. That gives you, oh boy, you get a bunch more work dumped on you. Here, do all this right now, Don. You're not doing nothing.
No, apparently I don't look like I'm busy enough.
Yeah.
Underpaid, overworked.
Slacker.
Apparently.
Yeah, Vestal's old house, right here on
Well, maybe Alexis can coordinate all this crap. Or I could if they want me
I
to.
guess, I thought,
I wish Rhonda wouldn't have waited till
Jim
last
wasn't
minute
the
and
party
stuff.
having a say.
Well,
But maybe she didn't know
That's
that.
part of our fault though,
Because we
too.
were late giving it to her. I know.
I don't know.
I'm kind of confused. I almost,
I don't know.
I guess we want all three, don't we, so we can compare rates, right, Alexis?
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody's gonna want almost Blue Cross unless these others come down a lot better deal.
But it's about the in-network providers, and I
Yeah.
think most of the in-network providers that we have here within our certain
Some will.
radius are both Aetna and Blue Cross.
Yeah, well, I had United Health through the post office,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of my specialists line wouldn't take them,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because maybe as a plan I probably had a lower level tier plan. Maybe if you have a better quality United Health plan, it would have been fine, I don't know.
Okay, this just sounds weird, but I added this employee will be required to take 1 24-hour shift weekly on the ambulance. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes.
Or for the ambulance service, or?
On the ambulance is fine, because
Well,
that
or-
means that that's their.
well, in the EMS department.
I think we're
They're
ready.
not necessarily riding on the ambulance
Yeah, come on now.
every time. They may be in the office, you know.
Weekly
Bill-
for the ambulance service.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
probably makes more sense.
Right. And then the other, 20 hours or 16 hours for the emergency management? Are we just making 40 or are we gonna give this person overtime?
I just put that they're responsible for blah, and then that they'll
Alexis.
be required
What?
to take 1 24-hour
This
shift.
emergency manager / EMS, we're only giving 40 hours, right?
Well, that's what we need to discuss.
So if they're
Are we
gonna
gonna
do-
do 20 and 24, and then the 4 hours overtime is attributed to the ambulance service, or are we just gonna do 24 and 16?
I think we're
I mean,
done.
I calculated when we calculated the salary line item,
Yeah.
when we did the budget, it was for 20 hours a week.
Yeah, I think that's,
But that would be 20 and 24, so then they get 4 hours of overtime instead of 8, like a regular, which
good.
I think that's fine.
Do we have a budget for that? We have,
Well, right now,
right
They're
now,
not
part-time,
getting-
well,
they're
right
getting
now, a
24
part-time
hours.
person wouldn't be getting
Right.
overtime.
So how many
Right.
hours?
Well, that's just, if
24.
you're gonna add another,
Should we just
4
start
hours.
at 20, or at 40 hours and see how it goes?
Let's
And
start
if
at
they're
40.
working more?
Let's start at 40.
so then 16, and if they
24
need
and
more, they'll have to
16.
come back and say, I
Right.
need that extra 6 hours, or
Right,
4 hours.
4 hours.
Right,
That's a lot of money over a year's time.
yeah, that overtime. Yeah, let's just do 40 hours.
Okay.
16 emergency management.
Yeah, good, you're right, they're not, whoever's doing part-time,
Yeah.
they're not getting overtime
Overtime
now,
anyway, yeah, so now.
unless they happen to be filling in twice that week,
Right.
so, okay.
All right, Brandon, sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Apologize.
So a couple of guys were wondering, the detour for the bridge out on Rye, if we had a timeline for when we thought that was, is that if we're expecting a lot more rain, they'd like to put like an inch of gravel on it for the multi-pit? That'd be something the commission will allow?
Rye, Richland's Rye.
That's the one that we talked about, it's that big,
Oh, up here,
stone,
but north of
it's the stone arch, right?
Gene Friesen's place.
Gene Friesen, so, to put more gravel on it
To
now.
put gravel on the detour,
Oh,
yeah.
on the detour.
for when it rains, they can't get through
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
I would do that on the
Okay.
detour, and make sure, like I talked to you before, that if it's clay,
Yeah,
to
don't use it.
try to
Yeah.
get some sand and rock blended in with that,
Okay,
okay?
They had graded that up, that's only an hour, or a mile and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure you got what you're doing. with
Yeah.
that. Make sure you got good material, because that was our biggest complaint all spring and early summer was our clay, gravel, and I agree it was too bad, because, so we went and add that sand with it and rock, okay, I'm sorry.
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then, over at Spillman Bridge, that iron one that has been out of service for years, there's that
Yeah.
wooden one next to
Yeah,
it
yeah,
that is barricaded off.
Yeah,
And the farmers have gone through and knocked the barricades out. I mean, it looks like they ran through it
same day.
because the legs are busted off. I
Yeah.
walked through it this
they're trying to
morning,
push it over the tractor.
They did that the same day, we put it up.
Make sure you receive
and
this.
it is the road is fracturing.
Yep.
It's sloughing off on the side
Yeah,
to
I
the
know.
creek.
Is this the one by the river?
That's the
or
one,
by the-
yeah, right,
Yep,
Okay.
just east
Well, I
or
was-
west town.
Yeah,
here.
like the
I know
bridge
it's
is this way and
dangerous.
then the road goes south.
I know it's dangerous and needs fixed, but I was hoping, we talked to Jim and I, that maybe we could accommodate farmers for the fall harvest, which is next 2-3 months. To still, maybe put guardrails on each side of that little bridge, I know right now there's nothing.
Keep them off of that side, close to the
Well,
edge.
yeah, well, guardrails on both sides, or maybe on that north, or
The west
East
side would
side.
need it too.
Yeah,
The
west side,
is just.
yeah, it's just a drop off.
but
I would
doesn't
put
look-
guardrails there,
Both sides of the road?
yeah.
Well, the west side, the
It's
bushes
just
are
a
tall.
it's just a bare drop off
Real-
bridge. There used to be
real
a
I haven't been
rail.
there since, I took pictures and sent them to you that one time, but I haven't been there since. So you're saying there's actually like a deterioration on the west side of the road?
No,
No, but they're
deterioration.
real deep.
There's no guardrail.
Oh,
There's
oh,
no guardrail
oh,
for the,
it's dangerous to, okay, I see what you're saying.
no, the
To begin with.
deterioration ain't no worse.
Okay,
But,
okay.
but
Is
yeah.
the road gonna be, you have enough surface gonna left to put a guardrail up, or is it gonna deteriorate so that you can't do that even?
Well, the problem is they already cut off the bridge rails. So what are they gonna do to guardrails if they
Well,
cut off the bridge rails?
Well, I was hoping you'd put the big steel guardrails on, but it may be
Well, they
a
just put
case
up-
you
they-
just need to block the
They ran
road.
over the,
I know,
barricade.
Wrong
that little
coast side.
box culvert there, the
Yeah.
whole sides are cut off of it.
Yeah.
So it obviously had a guardrail of some kind to keep people from falling off of it, and
Yeah,
somebody's
well,
cut it
one-
off.
years ago, one lady ran into it and knocked it off.
Here's back quite a ways from the culvert itself. You can see that crack forming alongside the road.
Yeah.
So that's all sloughing
No, it's gone.
all the way up to that culvert and over.
I think we're just asking for the
Should
next
be.
month or two while they haul silage and whatnot.
Just
Can
try
we
it.
just keep them
Makes-
off of that edge? And
But
let
stay in the middle of the
It-
road
It
and you'd
turns
be
into a
okay.
one-lane road only on the
Yeah.
west side.
Okay.
Can we
Yeah.
do that instead
Yeah, and I'd put.
I know that's not the permanent.
I
fix,
know,
but
and I know that's not the way
To
to
get to
fix things.
18.
But I just would like to accommodate them through harvest, and then we need to fix that with somehow. Some people are saying maybe we should go clear west of there about 100 yards, you were saying.
You're probably
And
gonna
divert
have
the
to.
road that comes from the south, just cut into that, see if we get with that farmer, and somebody said that farmer would probably
Wally
allow
Sheldon,
us
too,
to do that. We'd have to probably buy the land or something, I don't know. But we had cut, in other words, in the future, maybe actually divert.
Stay away from.
Well, yeah, go away, clear from
Wash.
that, go away from that creek, yeah, that's the creek. To the west, 50 yards, I don't know, 100 yards, not, or whatever, how far, and then go right to that road.
Yeah.
But that's future, but for now,
It's got a dry finger going through it, that just to the west of
but
it.
if we could, just for harvest, and I know it's dangerous, and Don makes a good point,
Would you
because
like
anybody
Wally's phone
can,
number?
Sure, I'll take it.
472
he's the landowner in the west side.
8680.
Is that because a more permanent fix, we were talking about just moving the
Yeah,
road over?
yeah, that'd be permanent. Then, because what happens if you look at
Well,
that
it kind of
little
does a
creek,
little-
if you look at that creek, there's only a little ditch, which is a
Well-
little creek coming to the west, only about 58, about 180 or 50 yards long. If you go west of that, you're avoid all
We ought to
that.
hire us an engineer and make him figure that out.
Yeah, pay me about $1,000 an hour, and I just figured it out.
So we should look at putting up guardrails, apartment.
Yeah,
Side.
temporarily, I'd sure like to, because I've already got complaints.
It's not the farmers, it's Fred Farkle coming up there on an evening's drive, and he doesn't know that that road's been bad for a long time. And we'll have him and his wife and kids upside down that creek, 16 foot below the road surface.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fear, and that's true, we got.
Well, that's why they had blocked it
Right,
off.
but the regular farmers in there, it's like Walker's there, Wally Sheldon, Rick McBride, they farm there north of the river and,
Yeah.
and they gotta get in there. Okay, they could go clear around, but then that's, the way, a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles.
Someone's come from the east side all the way to the bridge, because that's where I came up and I
Yeah.
walked
Yeah.
through it first, and they've run over,
Yeah,
clear run over the
Well, they shouldn't be
barricades
doing that either, but,
well,
and shot the signs.
they did it on purpose. I
Yeah,
heard about it the next day.
The east side, the signs, the barricades, the weeds are all grown up around them, and you can see tracks where
Yeah.
someone hit and ran over.
Yeah,
Do you want those to back up as well, or place further back from the bridge?
whatever you think.
well,
you
give
need
them,
to do.
give them a 1-lane road to go through there,
Well,
however,
on the
Oh.
east side of the bridge,
yeah. We'll put the guardrail on the east side of the bridge,
Well, I
by
mean-
the creek,
the east side of the bridge is closed out, that iron bridge.
yeah, oh.
Those ones have been hit and run over.
By
as
that
well.
iron bridge, well,
recently?
they should be going over there anyway, that old iron.
I don't know, but that's where
that should
they
be-
were. They were smashed. They've been hit and run over a
Well,
couple times
I
by.
think that's been done on quite a while ago.
Well,
Pickup
what
trucks.
they wanna do is,
They were up there when I was there the other day.
Oh, really?
So that was.
I didn't check that.
Whose route is that? Is that now Emmett's, or is
I think
that
it's Emmett.
Gary Frederick?
Not Gary. I'm trying to think of his name.
Fuller?
Right now.
Oh,
Police.
oh yes, Gary Fuller.
Fuller.
Yes. I believe it's his route.
And also sometime in the future, I don't know, could you give us, the whole county layout and show, or just tell us who, each grader driver, what area they have?
Yep.
So we can, some people ask me and sometimes they switch around, so in the future sometime,
I can work
just
on
a
that.
list of who,
I disagree with that.
you don't wanna know that, know where the
You
grader
don't
is?
need to know that. You need to know his name.
Yeah, but I
No,
wanna know,
no.
I still wanna know.
It goes back to the discussion that was had prior to you guys being here with the last management of the department. Is or is not the grader operator for his 100 miles the first line of information? Because people are stopping them on the road. If you do have their name or number, can you ask them when they're going to get to something or if something is lined up? It doesn't mean they do it without permission from their supervisor, but you know, if they are going to be responsible for their area and they're not being asked to cross-train into other things, then maybe they should be able to be contacted because there are other things going on simultaneously that may, you know, that they may have the primary knowledge about this.
Well, I'm not necessarily, Jim, wanting to contact the grader driver personally and to go around Brendan. I just wanna know who's doing what where, that's all, I just wanna know who's doing what where. Cause people are asking me sometimes who our grader driver is out there, and it's switched like 3 times in the last year,
Well,
so I'm not sure.
I'm just advocating for delegating to those people because the more responsibility they have, the more ownership they're going to take and pride in their job. And they
Yep.
need to be rewarded for that. And I think sometimes that trickle-down effect of, well, you didn't get permission from 6 people to do this, it defeats the purpose of them taking ownership in their area. You know, if it is going to be definitive by boundary lines, then they should know what's going on or be able to put in requests to you, can we get these trees trimmed on this mile of road because I can't do it by myself, or this is the week that I'm available, could you send one other guy, etc.
I don't mind all that, but I hesitate to have somebody ask a grader driver, when are you gonna fix that culvert?
Yeah,
But they
Because
do
he-
all the time.
But he doesn't necessarily put that plan into effect. Somebody else plans when he's gonna fix it. He might know, but he's not the guy that, if he tells some farmer, we're gonna fix that next week, and it's not gonna get fixed for a month, then we're in trouble again. He's not the guy that does the
But
sketching.
that's where Mobile 311 is going to be so helpful.
Well,
Because
but-
you're going to have an order of priority to be able to tell the guys, and if it gets pushed back a few weeks, it happens, but that doesn't change the
agree.
prioritization.
But I agree with you, yeah, the grader guy isn't gonna be scheduling stuff, but he
No.
can report to you and then you can make the decision, yeah.
Yeah.
But I wanna still know
Of
who
course,
they are.
He could, the greater person could respond to the person to say, I'm not sure when that's going to get done, but I have reported it to my
Yeah.
supervisor.
That's good, that's great,
That's
that's
what
what
I
I'd
like.
like to hear too.
That's, you know,
I just wanna know
really the proper.
who's out there,
And
not
that's
the.
where Mobile 311 documents that too, so then it's not on them to say, well, you did or didn't hearsay to get that information back
Right.
and forth.
Back at that Spillman
Back
Bridge,
to
the
the
Iron
bridge.
Bridge, what the guys, Wally Sheldon and
McBride and.
McBride have asked about that is they would like to be able to ride their 4-wheelers across there, not necessarily a truck or a pickup. And I don't know whether that's feasible or not. They use their 4-wheeler to go zipping around right now.
They've been around it, I can
I
tell you
know
that.
that.
They've been around the
Oh, on
cars.
the,
Oh,
old
yeah.
Iron Bridge?
Oh, yeah.
I
There's tracks going across
Yeah.
it and like UTV tracks, and
Yeah.
you can see fresh tracks going across the barricade,
And
the
they-
signs that were knocked
That's
over.
why they knocked those barriers down, so they can get across their 4-wheeler.
Well, I'm just gonna say, if we close a bridge, we cannot legally give permission for anyone to be on it for any purpose.
Then you ought to just close it by welding big steel beams across the damn thing that you gotta cut
Yeah.
with a cutting torch.
Cause there was fresh beer bottles and everything sitting on that bridge when I walked out. this
Well, they
morning.
were out there
Oh,
partying
yeah.
and hanging out and.
Well,
Fi-
there was, you
they're
could see
probably
vehicle,
fishing.
fresh vehicle tracks.
They're probably
on it.
fishing off of it.
I
My
don't care who
concern
does what, I'm
is-
just saying that the board cannot give
No.
permission
No.
for any
No, I'm-
special circumstance
I'm just telling you
or.
what.
The
Our-
board can, because
Our
a lot
position
of it.
is, our
Right.
liability is such that if we close that bridge, it's gotta be closed. If somebody uses it after we close it, we're liable. And it's like that road. Once we decide it's a safety factor and we close it and if they knock the barriers down, somebody runs off, it's still probably gonna be our liability because we didn't close it sufficiently that they couldn't use it.
So if we can't get guardrails that reflectors on posts where the road narrows down, would that be adequate?
You mean if the road's too soft to do guardrails, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
You put a narrow road, 1-lane bridge sign up or something like that.
yeah.
And if that doesn't work,
I think they'll be
Well,
fine
can
with
we
that.
have any, like, concrete Jersey barrier type things?
I'd have to look
We could
around.
ask if we do, I mean, at least the first one to deter
It might make the
them.
road too narrow for the
Yeah,
The
big.
traffic.
farm equipment.
Get some steel guardrails or even like your reflector rails.
Well, he's saying if the material's too soft to actually stabilize the
Yeah.
guardrail, then you're just gonna
Because
end up.
it's, yeah, your wooden plank bridge almost, and to the north of it, it's all the way down to the original planks.
Yeah.
There's no surface put up, so you
Right.
can't put a guardrail there. And to the south, you can put up almost to the start of the bridge, but not across it. And that's where that crack I was showing you guys
Yeah.
was. But we can put reflectors on flags on either side, so that way if they're just
Yeah, that's
taking
probably,
a cruise and we're gonna keep it open for the next month for the farmers till we drive posts in the road and block it completely.
Yeah.
There'd be that so they can see.
Now, I'll see both of the main culprits probably at coffee tomorrow, and I'll mention if they knock the damn signs down, we're gonna close the road completely. So you cooperate, you can have one lane through Harvest, or we'll close it completely and you have to go around, because we can't operate, in an unsafe, litigious society like this without taking great care.
Okay, now I'll see where we have reflectors at and I can go put them up.
okay. Anything else?
I think that was it for these guys. Then
You've been working a little bit with Liz on some stuff.
just this morning, basically.
This morning,
we're good.
okay.
She wasn't able to come in this weekend. The other question I was getting from Lockton Community, because my phone number, I've got the out of town number. I'm wondering if when I go to call Babel back, it goes to their voicemail a few times first. If possible, I know Dawn and Hannah are working on sending a letter to Next Tech so I can get in to see the data usage on our tablets and things like that out there. If possible to see the pricing for a work phone through them and add it onto that plan, or just
Well, a second phone or your phone reprogrammed?
a second phone. Just, I'd leave mine at the house, my personal one, and just have one just for work duties.
I think that'd be all right.
And I'd come back when I got pricing on it.
I need some clarification, and Dawn, you're probably the only one that knows this. Who is servicing the highway department? And, okay, so we got the tablets, and then we got internet to the tablets through Next Tech.
Correct.
The GPS on the equipment and the vehicles is separate.
It's through
It's through a
Insight.
different company.
It's through a different company. And so then who has internet to the office over there?
Eagle.
That's Eagle.
Yeah, you can't go through Next Tech for like your office, otherwise you'd have it used in one day,
Okay.
the maximum.
So we need to talk to Eagle Communications, because I don't know if you were here this morning, but he was saying that all of the emails for the highway department have been deleted.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
So we need to contact,
On all the
Do you
computers?
know if the email is being stored on the local hard drive? Is it a
Cloud?
county, or is it cloud, or is it a county email address?
It's
or
a
is it
county email address.
What's that?
It's the county email
So
address.
does the county store its email on the cloud? Or is it?
Well, the highway department's separate from the rest of the county, isn't it, Don?
It's still a county account though.
it's still through,
But we
It's
have,
I
still
don't
through-
know,
it's
because
still-
it dumps off of the carriers, like my computer, it holds it for 14 days online. So I can access for 14 days unless my email gets full, and then it dumps it as soon as you open it into Outlook.
And does that one open into Outlook, the one over there? Oh, then I think they're resurrectable.
maybe
I
they're an
don't
outlet.
think it's Eagle though, I think it's gonna have to be the computer people, but
so who's our IT at this point is still Next Tech.
Next Tech, yes.
Can Alexis,
Huh.
have David give you the Geek Talk to actually ask them?
What
Because,
they're looking
and,
for.
and the other thing too is the more if something has been erased, the more you use the computer, it overwrites that data. So when you're trying to resurrect stuff, it's better not to use the computer for anything until it's been resurrected.
And I've only done it just to check emails.
So, was this on all
Yeah.
computers, laptops, and all, tower computers over out there?
This is the only one that the old director's computer that we went into. That's where we found all those emails that are deleted.
How about Liz's, computers? How about those?
I think everything's still
Okay
on those.
there.
I don't know, but
Okay.
I don't know if I can try try logging into a different computer on the account because I don't have passwords for anything.
Okay.
So if we lose power and any of those computers log off,
Okay, so
I can't get back into
we
anything.
need to know from Liz how to access her, her computer, because her computer still has access to that email. But the email
I don't know
was,
if it does. It might be set up separately.
Well, next tech team, I'll send an IT team over there and sort that out. They've got people
Liz didn't give you passwords?
She didn't have any.
Oh,
You don't,
I-
it doesn't matter, next tech, their IT team can pull that up.
she doesn't have any, well, she's got, used to get on and off of it all the time.
We need to.
That's how they're all like that.
Yeah.
And they're all logged in once.
Oh,
But if you fully log off, then you need to type in the password again, or if the
for all
computer
of
shuts
them, huh?
off.
For
Correct.
all of them at once.
That's my understanding from what I've seen.
That's one
have
network
you tried to
together?
open both the computer at the office desk and the computer in the highway department director's desk?
I've opened up the one in the director's desk. That's the one where the emails were all missing. I was in there with Dawn. The other one, I didn't try opening up the email in that one. The one that was in the main office.
Okay, but either way, the emails would still be deleted because whoever accesses it can still manipulate
Exactly.
the emails.
Because
Yeah. But
even
you
if it's
can
logging
get
on 2
on-
accounts, I can, if I delete off one location, it's delete off the second location if they're open that same
So
account.
that's the Lincoln County, Kansas.org, but wasn't there a second highway department email, Don? Besides Lincoln County, Kansas?
I think they have 3, but I'm not sure
Did-
which ones they're all using. Like Liz
Did
has
Bob have a
one.
computer too?
Bob has a computer too.
Have you looked at it or anything?
I didn't see the Outlook on there. It's a new computer. I think it's the newest one they have there. And there
I
was
think the
just,
shop has one. Liz had one, and the highway department has one.
Well, I think you need to bring the IT team in, they can go through all, they can get passwords wherever they need
Yeah.
to do.
Okay.
I wouldn't ask Bob though.
No, yep. I wouldn't ask,
I don't think so, yeah.
who are we saying?
Liz.
Well, Eagle, even though they're your information or your internet provider, they wouldn't. It's IT, and then the email, it's the website people, Thompson.
No, that's just the website.
Website
That's just
doesn't
the
have nothing to do with email.
Okay,
It'd be
It would be-
Next Tech does.
it'd be
this
Next
software.
Tech.
And they have a good IT team,
Hardware.
they'll come out
okay.
and fix all
Could
that.
you please put that on your list to ask them to come to the facility?
Do you have Next Tech's information for doing it?
Because we want to retrieve anything that was,
Do you have Alexis or Don?
no, but you can just,
Well, Don has all that stuff,
Yeah.
she deals with them all the time. We just had the lady here last week on the whole new program.
yeah. Yeah, they're trying to get our renewed contract anyway here.
Don-
I'll give you this number in Ellsworth, 785-472-3800. That's out of Ellsworth, so that's.
And Don
close.
might even have a direct contact with somebody she deals with all the time.
Okay.
That's interesting, because we were looking to find out which grader was supposed to be sold to Sylvan, and I was told that that they couldn't find the email from Michael, but I wasn't told that all of the emails had been
Yes.
deleted. That's,
And unless it was already in another folder, and some of the calls were saved, but when Dawn was looking, we couldn't find anything back before then. I don't know if it was automatically removed and stored somewhere else because there was 585 unread emails. But since I've cleared those ones that weren't
but there was
Outward
nothing
space.
like in the sent box or in the.
nothing in the sent box.
It's probably automatic deduction on,
Some of them limit the number you can put on it.
Exactly,
and then
but
they get on.
when you clear it,
But
they
you
should still be able
wouldn't-
to pull it back up into
Right,
the archive
and
if
you
they're not
wouldn't
there.
delete, I wouldn't delete everything that has been opened and worked on in the past.
But even if you delete them, a lot of times they go to trash.
And there were none
There was
there.
nothing trash, that was
No,
deleted empty.
they were fully.
That was empty too.
So I had a question from the city of Sylvan, and it was regarding which
Greater.
grader was to be sold to them, and I'm just looking here to see that conversation I had with Michael. Do you remember? It was clear back in, I think we made that decision last summer. But basically, there's a CAT 120G and 120H, I
Correct.
believe, are the identification numbers, and
Would you have one out there? That's an older one.
They were
Yeah,
both
it is.
older, of course, just from what I know when Don was there, that it was approved in the minutes for a 1994 grader. We don't have a 1994. Sylvan, they thought they were buying Frederick's old loader or grader.
Okay.
We dropped that one off, and then it was
I
just
have,
in and
I
out
have
of
the
it.
email. It was my error. I said 1994, but we only have a 93 and a 95. So
No,
go figure, I'm right
No
in
big
between.
deal there.
Well, it is because this is what Michael O'Hare wrote to me at the time. This was last May, or earlier in May, I should say. After research on selling for the 1993 Cat 140G, also I had the numbers wrong too. Sorry. I believe that $15,000 is a fair price. Do you want me to convey that to them? And then, so I just wrote back. Well, we started talking about the gravel issues. So the motion carried for $15,000 based on the price that he gave me. So when we were in session, we voted for $15,000, but what he wrote to me was 1993. So that's the one that's there now. So according, right? Am I right? Do you know? I believe the 93 was sent over there, correct? The 93 grader is now in Sylvan.
The 95 was originally taken over there. They wanted the 95. They took over the 95 and brought back the they took over the 1993 and brought back the 1995 because somebody at the highway department said that was the wrong motor grader. And so that they were supposed to actually get the 1993. I couldn't find the email to
I found
know.
it. And you told me that you couldn't find the email. But I found it, and it says that the 1993 Cat 140G for $15,000.
Okay.
So that would be
So that is the motor grader that is over there now.
okay.
And they brought the 1995 back
Back.
here. Now, when Steve Orr came in and talked to you guys, I didn't put it in the minutes, but I know that he specifically told the prior board that they were wanting Gary Frederick's blade, the one that was being replaced last year, which would be the 1995 model. So I left it with Jennifer that they're getting the 1993, I guess. And then if Steve Orr still has an issue, then he needs to come and you guys need to discuss it and figure it out. But I think he wanted that one because they knew
The history of
the
it.
history on it. However, after kind of doing the conversations last week, the 1993 is in the better shape than the 1995 was.
No, that's where the discrepancy is, because Jennifer Hill did contact me from the city office and said she had had extensive conversations with Mr. O'Hare about how there was a drive shaft issue with the 93. But I will say that is what the price was given for through me at the meeting for me to make the motion. So
Did they pay us over for that?
it's paid in full.
And I talked with Steve last week when I was at the Sylvan shop.
Oh, what did
He
he say?
stopped by. He's like, I heard you. I asked him about the discrepancy with the grader, and we were working on it and trying to find it. He said he understood. He's like, well, either way, I know that it's going to be used still serving Lincoln County residents, and the price was more than fair for it because we've sold older graders that were missing parts and not running through
More
auctions
than the-
for
what we
$45,000
asked.
to $50,000 in much worse conditions than we sold to Sylvan.
So basically, it is the issue, do they have to then look into this drive shaft problem, and then they'll have to put money into it, but at that point, they still got a better,
And that's
Frame
what
of
he
a
was kind of
machine
talking
to-
with me
okay.
about. when
Is
we
it
stopped.
drivable now?
They
or-
drove it over there, I believe.
Well,
if
then,
I'm not
in
mistaken.
other words, it's usable, it just has a problem.
I don't think it's something that's keeping it from working, I think it's wear and tear is
It's
going to
something's
get
gotta
it to the
get-
point
It's gonna
where,
need fixed there pretty quick, or it will
right,
be major then, probably.
that's my assumption, but I am no mechanic, so,
And they have a cat mechanic that lives local in town right across.
well, there you go, then they got a good deal, so we're not
Kind
gonna.
of a done deal, everybody's reasonably happy then.
That's what it seemed like when I talked with Mr. Moore
Okay.
last
Okay,
week.
then let's leave it at that, I just wanted to make sure I brought that up, so.
That's fine.
And I had found the email, and you'll call next tech about
Call
IT
'em after
people,
here.
and what else do we need to move forward with? She was getting some information to Schwab Eaton, the engineering firm out of Beloit, about the
Lake.
Wilson
washout.
Lake
That-
Estates
Wilson Lake.
washout.
Mhm.
Did you ever contact Snyder?
I did not. Oh,
Yes.
up top,
Steve
yes,
Snyder.
yes, I talked to Steve.
About when they dug up that culvert and what did come out of that deal?
Well, he explained with me after we had been driving around for a little bit that Mike, Mr. O'Hare, and Bobby Zackwood told him that the county would pull the pipe out and bring it up, but he said his son just got too impatient. Like, I don't know what prior deals were made or discussions. All I know is that we can't ever have anything like this happen again. Luckily, no one got hurt,
Yeah.
but that's why he said there's a written contract that he has signed from Mr. O'Hare in regards to what the county is going to be doing to all those roads. I've yet to find it, so I asked him if he locates it. I'd be more than happy to take a look at it for everything that the county agreed to, but
I
until
don't
then,
know.
we'll just keep doing what I'm aware
I
of.
don't think Michael had a contract with him.
Yeah,
That-
well,
we
we
did.
signed it.
Yeah, but we did one to add gravel to the road this last
But he was
spring.
saying there was a lot more that hadn't been done according to the contracts that we had written with him. I said,
I
well,
think the contract was null and void once he filed suit. Or got an attorney to file suit against us though.
Oh, that contract way back.
But yeah, I think
Before
it's the
me,
original
okay.
one.
Yeah, we
So-
have a new agreement, and it was that we would shape and apply gravel to the road, which we have done, and then we weren't going to apply material for 5 years. So that's where we are with the new agreement.
And we-
because he said there was a lot more that we had said we
Well-
were gonna do to the road currently that we still
You'll
haven't
have to
done.
look at the agreement. I
Yeah.
do have it. I'm not
Okay.
gonna search for it right now.
Well,
but-
we went back we went back several times and added more sand and more rock and, you know.
But I can see that from the sides, and I
Yeah.
explained with him about how the roads, why they're in the shape they're in, things that happen, and explained to him why that pipe was truly there. So there's a pond on the west, to the west of the road, up on the hill, and with the amount of rainfall, that pond should be almost brimming with water, and it's a third full. And you
So
can
it's
see it,
flowing.
exactly.
It's
And that
not
pipe, yes, it
retaining.
didn't have water in it at the moment. That's why his boy wanted it out for the driveway, I'm assuming. But all that groundwater trickles across. And I showed him the telltale signs of how that water's going through the base right now. Then we drove up to his house, we put the pipe in, and I explained to him there, I'm guessing you have this PVC pipe here that I see sticking in the roadway under the road, and looking at how this metal pipe's buried, that didn't flow any water, the PVC, because it wasn't buried deep enough, so it collapsed to begin with. And the other thing is, when he dug his own ditches for that, he now has 2 mosquito ponds on either side of his driveway, because he dug out our ditches in order to put his pipe in and cover it. Explained to him, well, we'll see what happens when the rainfall comes, but what you put in is nice, but it's not gonna trap water. It's just gonna trap water in both those spots, because he's sitting on the greenhorn limestone base right there. So putting that pipe in and raising that up just made 2 mosquito ponds either side of his drive.
Okay, well,
It
good.
was
You
his,
told
it
me.
was his
Yeah,
prerogative
that's-
to do that, so I
Yeah.
can only explain what I saw, and then what my major concerns were, was that they opened up the roadway.
Did you get to meet Mr. Keller over there? David, not Keller, but,
Whacker.
David Whacker, I'm sorry.
I don't believe.
Well,
he
he kind of just lives a little bit west of there with his pheasant ranches and stuff, and he was wanting more, coming from Union, they've been complaining quite a bit here, but the original gravel was clay, but from west of, 181 Union goes, 2 miles west, he was wanting more gravel too, more rocks.
I
out
was
there.
just up there because of that. He had sent some pictures. So there is a low spot. There's already a culvert that is not big enough. And the wash over the road is astronomical. And we have just kept putting material on that. We told him 2 years ago, and I was on the board and these guys weren't, that we would replace those culverts. And we did do a job related to that complaint on 30th, which is goes right past part of where his farm is. So Union goes west and east over
Yes.
there. And so it's just a couple miles past where Mr. Schneider's road goes. And you'll see it because all the wash has revealed the big rock under
base rock.
Yes, and it's all it's swooped down over into the ditch, and I mean, it's a mess right there. You can't miss it if you just keep going west on that road.
Okay.
And we did promise him when we did that job on 30th with new culverts that we would do the Union project as well. So that is something we need to go back and do.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is-
there's a lot of water comes through there from the northwest through the north. There is a lot, I looked at that too.
Well, I
And-
think, isn't
and-
that pond that's no longer,
Yeah,
they
that comes from the
quit
west.
damming?
And there's a lot comes through there. And we had all this high water this summer, spring, so it did wash bad through there. That does need a bigger culvert or two of them, or I don't know, however you would
we
think.
talked about replacing it with two, and it was bigger, and I would have to go back and look at that meeting. It's gotta be on here, because it's before we even started moving downstairs, so I can look for it. Regardless, it's something that needs to be looked at, and it
Yeah.
has been an issue for a long time, and it's just the matter of it won't, the culvert won't accommodate that much water. It's always coming over the road
Yeah.
anytime there's a heavy rainfall in a short amount of time. So that's one thing that we can go back to that needs done in that area. I gave you that list of bridges, the stone bridges.
Trying to think.
I had little
Yes.
check marks on it, and it was just a list of like 8 or 10, and we
Yes.
picked 4. I would like to move forward with preparing an RFP for that. I guess I can help him work on that as long as the board doesn't object.
No.
But what we want to do is we want to mail out invitations to bid to our local stonemasons and put it in the paper.
For all 4 of them.
We're gonna,
Do
right,
we
we're
have any
gonna,
idea what that would cost right now?
that's why we're getting the bids.
We're trying to get these all aggregated so they're.
I know,
Yeah.
I remember
We
all 4.
chose the 4 that were
I
in
know,
close
right up there by
vicinity
Denmark,
Denmark.
I remember, yeah. I was just curious, we never
So,
had an estimate among ourselves what they would spend on that.
Yep, I remember the sheet, 'cause it was Excel spreadsheet.
okay, and I can help you do that. I wanna collaborate with you on that and get that in the paper, get it mailed out if we, know who we wanna contact for that. Which brings me to, I haven't been in contact with Mr. Cross. I asked around for his phone number, and
Yes.
do you have it?
No, but if you call Joyce over at the art center, he
Okay.
has it, he does all that
I
work.
stopped by at his house, but he wasn't there.
Dennis
Twice
still-
I went by,
Dennis
but I
still
think
got a
his
cast on his foot.
Number was on that sheet.
on the bid.
Yeah, I think I gave that to him, so.
Okay, yeah, cause I just signed it, approved it, and I'll come upstairs and get it.
He hasn't been working, he broke his
Well, I
foot,
asked a
he's
couple
been
people
off
I
a month
knew
or
for his
so.
number, and they didn't have it, so I just stopped by the house twice, but he wasn't there either
He done
time,
took
so.
one of his foot, he's still all right.
Yeah, but he's been hobbling around on his broken foot for
Okay, I
quite
think
a while.
the next thing we need to do is have the highway department director and us go into an executive session to review the applications for the positions for the highway department. And
Okay.
then, before we do that, the discussion of, have we hired on to the highway department from the transportation bus?
No,
I need to talk about that.
So we need executive session.
Well, I don't know. Do you want me to talk to you guys formally in open meeting, or do you want me to talk? I probably should talk to you firmly. So, we had an employee come up and tell us that he had just been hired on at the highway department, that he talked to Brendan because Randy had sent him down to talk to Brendan about hiring, and he was gonna start working that day. I'm like looking at him, and first off, we're an equal opportunity employer, and that doesn't mean, as the employee implied, the pigmentation of your skin. It means anybody has the doesn't matter what race, color, creed they are, whether they're male or female. You cannot just hire somebody off the street. You must advertise a position. That's what this board has been criticized, that's what the county has been criticized openly for years. And then I get a person that walks in and just says, oh, by the way, there are certain stipulations for the highway department that has to be met. Number one, they have to be able to obtain a CDL, and they have to be willing to get one, and so on and so forth. But number one thing that we have to do is advertise. So we didn't really have a part-time per need mower grader or mower operator position available. So I guess if you guys would like to hire one, let's get that ad out and do so. The other thing is really what should happen is, if you know somebody that's interested in a position, is that you contact the department head that says, hey, I think so-and-so might be interested in the position. Do we have a position available for them, or can they help? And I don't wanna be scoffing at, but I just, this is not a private business in which you can just hire somebody that walks in off the street. You just can't. You have to go through the processes. And, you know, if you don't like what I'm saying to you, then that's fine, you don't have to like what I'm saying to you. But at some point in time, we have to have boundaries, and that is one of the boundaries that I have. Number one, I have no idea, does this kid intend to get a CDL license? Does he not intend to get the CDL? When I said something to him about it, do you know what he told me? Well, I got whatever I needed for the transportation bus. Well, what he needed for the transportation bus was a physical, not a CDL. So, does he really understand what a CDL is? Are we willing to pay for him to go get a CDL?
Yeah.
Do we care about that anymore? I don't know. But nonetheless, we don't have a position available for a part-time temporary mower. If you guys would like to create a position and have a part-time position, I'm all for that, but let's advertise it. That's all I'll say. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse.
No, and I wasn't aware I was hiring him. He had just shown up and said
Well,
that the commission had told him to come down here to
Well, I
sit a
told him-
mower and start.
Well, I
so he
just
could
told him,
help us
I
out.
know him, he was wanting to help out because he is part-time, transportation bus guy. And I apologize, Don, I should have talked to you about all that before we even started any of this. And, then I said, well, talk to you, cause you're the new director, and you didn't know, but I'm not saying to hire anybody, I'm just saying, if that would've worked out part-time, we have used part-time before, but I know Don, I was in the wrong place to, you know, he was just wanting to help out, and I was saying, well, if he could part-time help out you here at the, you know, do a mowing job. But obviously, that's
Yeah.
not the right way to go about it, so I apologize, Don, and, you too, Brennan, put you in a spot here. They just came to me, wanting to know if they could help out doing that, and I said I didn't know, so I should have, you know, I didn't say hire him.
Okay, the way they come to me was that they've been told by the commission that everything was good. And
Right.
No, well, they,
coming to me.
well, they insinuated that
And-
I said to hire him, and I never said nothing like
Well,
that.
yeah,
Just because I know him, and I know him, that's like, I ain't like telling you to hire this guy because I'm a commissioner. I never meant that.
No, and I didn't even think it was.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
just that
that's-
he was already working some
Well,
for the
tell
county,
them.
and there was help coming over to help us out because they were
Yeah.
already there wasn't any projects for them to work
Well,
on,
and-
and they were already.
Well, and then like
part-time.
Don's right, we have to put ads in, and you have to be qualified for the highway department with CDL and all that. So I apologize again for, I'll tell them that we can't do it that way.
That's why I had him go up here to Don.
Yeah.
Well, make sure everything's
No,
all right.
you did fine, and
accept everything.
I should have told him right off the bat, we can't do it that way, and I didn't, and so it's my fault.
Well, there's nothing wrong with saying that, oh, if you're interested, you can talk to these people. But I think what Don's pointing out is, we
Well,
have to have a process.
Well, they came in
It needs to
assuming
be
like
what
I
you're
said, they came in assuming like I said, hire this guy and I'm gonna go to work for you.
Well-
And we never got that far, and they kinda took that, insinuated that.
I will say though, in my short minimal experience here of 2.5 years, people do come to you because you're a commissioner,
Yeah.
expecting that your word is
Yeah,
the blanket
Gospel,
coverage for
gospel,
anything,
yeah,
right?
right.
And so if you say, oh, I think that'd be a good idea if you work for the highway department,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're hired automatically. So I
Yeah.
understand how that miscommunication
Yeah,
happens, but I
right.
think going back to the purchasing policy that you were suggesting, I think we need to have that hiring policy and just say, you advertise the job, you interview you collect the applications, you interview the job, and you collaborate with the department head. We're really only hiring maybe department heads and your immediate subordinates who may have to have direct communication with us. Other than that, it's really up to you to get together with the HR person to do the interviews for all of the rest of your employees. So really, if you sent him over there.
well, I
in a
said call
technical-
Brendan, I said, I told him, they emailed me, and I said, talk to our new director, and
But what Don's saying is we don't really have a job
No.
for what he was
We didn't,
inferring that
right.
he could do possibly. And like
Right.
the CDL is a stipulation for every,
Except for the office manager.
yeah, everyone else in the department has to have or be able to obtain. And are we paying for that? We have paid for that, haven't we?
We normally pay for the class, but I'm not sure you're willing to pay for a class for a part-time temporary person.
No.
Right, if
Are
it's
you?
no, but we could do an ad for a temporary person. Are you saying, are we saying mowing, is that?
I didn't
I
know.
think once it's just department short-handed right now, and once we get back to staff, it won't be an issue again, and that's why I thought it was just.
So it's kind of like a
It came
gopher
said the
position.
commissioners told me
Well, I
that
didn't do
he can
either.
come mow for. He's going
And
to
I
come out
didn't-
here and mow,
yeah.
and I'm like, well,
I didn't,
Commissioners are my
well, see,
report
they,
too, so they said he's
and
gonna
that's
come
my
mow,
fault.
he's gonna come mow.
And that's my fault, because I
And
didn't.
just as us,
know that.
we as a political entity, you'll have to double check on us to make sure that we make motions. Because if we don't have a discussion in an open session where the public has access, where we make a motion, where it's recorded and everything is kosher that way, then it's kind of just a he said, she said battle. And you don't want to have to report to any one of us individually.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
you can, I encourage you to have a relationship with us, but I'm
Yes.
saying, if there's a discrepancy, because I may not want what they want and they can outvote me, or vice versa, 2 of 3, or,
Yeah.
but whatever the board actually decides in the open meeting, that's the only thing that goes. So even if you approve to hire someone, and you do your interview and you bring them to us, we can actually reject to accept them. No, we don't do that, but I'm just giving you the details of, just so you know, that the board has to give an official approval in an open meeting so that anything becomes legitimate that is discussed.
Yeah.
Everybody understand that? Okay. Now, can we do an executive session to review the current applications that we have, only for the highway department? And then if we have any others, we can do
All positions or just the second
all
position?
positions.
Or don't we just want to do
Well,
the road manager, supervisor?
we ought to look at all of them.
I
Okay,
think we'll
that's
have
fine.
him here, he's already here, let's
Okay.
just look at all of them and
That's
discuss,
fine.
because what we're gonna do is choose the interviews, not necessarily we're not hiring, we're just looking at the applications.
Okay, that's
Can we do them all
fine
at
with me, yeah. I'm gonna
Please.
take a little break.
Yeah, let's do that first and then I'll make the motion.
I'll be right back.
Grab my water bottle.
Yeah, take your time.
What if I brought you a proposal for a county employee's handbook that I put together?
We have a handbook.
Be a proposal for you guys, because I'm just the person that hands out the handbook.
Do you have a handbook?
Yes, I do. I wrote one,
A new one?
yes.
I
And I'd
mean-
like to present it for consideration one of these days. And there's a lot of mistakes, because I'm not as smart on some things I ought to be. But I think I've included a lot of things that are causing us grief.
But did you base it on our current one? Or did you just
Some of
start
it,
from scratch?
and Some from scratch and some from here and there and wherever.
There's a lot in there.
Yes, there is. I
When do
agree.
you have that kind of free time? I'm gonna trade you.
Well, because people won't die on schedule, they just follow whenever they feel like it. So I got a lot
He
of free
doesn't have
time.
4 little children.
Yeah, that
I
surely
got
takes
2
up the
wives
day.
though, and that counts for something.
I did not know you were Mormon.
I'm not. They think I am, but I'm not.
Dawn, did you get the email that I sent to the department heads about the, okay. Now I'm just gonna wait for her to send the, I didn't mean to send it twice. I keep doing that because it doesn't tell me, this doesn't tell me that it's sent. It just sits there and spins.
Saves time.
Thank you.
Well, while we're on break, I'm just gonna tell you, I got my ass chewed out so much last week, excuse my language, that it should be half the size that it is this week.
Who's doing all that? I want to know.
A little bit of everybody, but I'm gonna tell you about by the 19th time of last week, somebody yelling at me, I might have gotten a little nasty.
Is it over the time clock?
No. Some of it is, two people was over the time clock, and whether or not they did or did not get paid. Mr. Meitler, solid waste people, just, at some point in time, I'm gonna start telling people where they really need to be talking to.
Do it.
You should do that.
I mean, I have attempted to, but when people come in and yell at you, like you tried to diffuse the situation, but I'm gonna start yelling back pretty soon. Because
Solid
I am
waste, as in
so
they didn't
tired.
get paid in Salina, or what's the deal there?
No, the public hearing, because we have to send out certified mailings.
Oh, because it was gonna get attached to the, okay.
Yes.
So they hadn't gotten any of their bills, or?
No, it would be a landowner that it's going on to, didn't like the fact. I'm like,
Well, why didn't they
there's
just
a
come in and
public
pay it?
hearing. In the paper, it tells you when the public hearing is, come and complain then. Like, I am just tired of being responsible for every other department. I'm just gonna be quite frank with you.
Well, so.
I don't get paid enough Cause I'm not the highest paid employee like everybody thinks.
No,
I
but
am.
you're supposed to be a switchboard, which means when they call in, you say, oh, transfer you to the landfill. I mean, and the landfill should actually deal with whatever, or the health department should deal with whatever. But when it comes to us assigning it to the taxes, that's us. I mean, are they saying they don't like the process of where if it's unpaid, it goes on the tax bill? Or were they willing to come in and just pay it so that it was?
Well, it was the landlord that's wanting to pay. You know, that's just one of the issues. But my issue is it really shouldn't be our issue to begin with. If your employee was doing his job and collecting the money at the time that they take it over to the landfill. Technically, anybody who takes disposable materials
pay at
except
the
for
time.
business are supposed to be paying at the time,
Okay,
not
so
us billing them.
let's make it.
And so then everybody's angry at us, and that's what makes me angry. I mean, I don't know how to fix the situation.
Okay, well,
Because I told the
we can
person-
start addressing it right now. So I can write. So my question is, how often does this happen? Or. But
Well,
you're
I
doing
don't know.
your
The one
billing-
time that I got the giant jar of Vaseline slammed on my desk, that was really enjoyable as well. I don't know how to
Is
stop people either from doing that.
So
I
are
don't
you,
know how.
So do they get? Let me ask you this. Let's say I drive up there with material that I want to deposit, and I owe a bill. Am I just allowed to say bill me, and they'll mail it out, and you end up mailing it out?
Yes,
Are-
that is basically what they're doing, and I
But
don't
they're
know what they
supposed to
say
be
billing.
paying on site, and then who brings you those deposits?
Carrie at the landfill.
And who brings you the bills that are unpaid?
Carrie at the landfill.
So
He
should be
brings us the
doing
weight tickets, and Hannah goes through the weight tickets to bill out.
Well, why isn't he just billing them out?
Good question.
Okay, well, maybe we should just ask him to come and see us about it so we can figure that out. How long have you been doing it that way?
A very, very long time. Ever since
he
he was
started.
hired.
Okay, so then there's the issue. If you'll excuse me,
We've
I'll
always
use
done
the
it that
restroom.
way, why would we change?
Well, and that's the very issue. Yeah, how can he have expectations to do it differently unless we assign that?
Is there a camera in your office?
No, but I wish sometimes that there was so that I
Well,
could.
you should probably have one that actually focuses on the desk, so when people come in, they're actually on camera, because you are in a place where people are yelling and,
What's interesting is the people that, in the other offices that heard the one person yelling at us so much, then said something to Hannah in the restroom. Oh, well, so-and-so must have a bill. I can't believe they're complaining about that. They know that they're doing work to
well,
their
when
house.
anybody raises their voice in the commission room, someone calls the sheriff's department, so your colleagues upstairs probably should do the same thing. If there's yelling in the hallway, perhaps the sheriff's department should just come over and, because it's inappropriate for even a citizen to be shouting.
I don't get paid enough, I'm telling you.
Well, even if you were paid $1 million a month, you don't deserve to be shouted at
No.
for a situation
You're not
that you
treated like-
personally didn't create.
You're the contact for the whole county all the time, that's tough.
Well, apparently. And I've just about had my fill of it. You know, I normally refrain from saying things that I'll regret to say later, but anymore lately.
Well,
And the
there's no-
one person told me the only reason why they called me and said something about it is because they'll know that I get something done about it. Which I guess is a compliment, but it doesn't really feel like it's a compliment when you just feel like you are bleeding, literally. Okay.
How many applications do we have?
One stack for each of you.
Okay. About 8 or 10 or more than that?
I don't know.
Maybe we need evaluations. What did we have on, just to discuss how we're gonna do next year's? We wanted to
Yes.
start that
we
process.
wanted an hour, and I have those too.
Okay, so
And
right now it is,
I also have human
what time do you need to
resources.
leave here? It's already noon.
Whenever, I'm gonna be going down to the southwest part to meet with landowner. Oh, it's on Bison, about half-mile east off Sylvan Blacktop, to look at a couple washouts. He requested us to drive out.
Reinert.
Mike? No, Mike. Mike, what's his last name? I wrote it down on my notepad in
Crabtree?
there. Possibly. I have his number.
That's
Okay,
okay. No
it's
big
okay.
deal.
He asked if- he
But we
asked if
have
we could meet
Ladonna
this
coming in at
afternoon.
12:30, so I'm just gonna make the motion for half an hour. That way when we're done, we'll kind of we will have come to a conclusion as to who we're going to interview, and we'll just worry about setting the interview later. We'll do that through Dawn and tell you when we can do it. It'll obviously probably be on next Monday, or if you call a special meeting. I move to recess into executive session for 30 minutes for the purpose of reviewing highway department applications pursuant to KSA 754319-2B, number 1. No. How do we do that?
Well, you've been doing that under number 1 for all this time.
Yeah, just personnel.
Yeah,
matter.
personnel matters of non-elected personnel, I guess they're potential personnel, with the highway department director, the director of the highway department, and the commission, and the acting HR, to reconvene in the commission room.
30 minutes, you said?
Yes, because we have Ladonna coming in half an hour.
I'll second.
We said 30 minutes.
Yes.
Call for a vote.
Those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you.
If we're adding something, we're
Yeah,
adding something.
why not?
Yeah,
Let's do that.
that's a good idea.
Okay.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Do we need
And
a
I think
motion?
you meet the requirements of
Yes,
advertising.
and
because
then we
we're
can
advertising.
manipulate and change everything that we're constantly changing, but all on our own website, and then it's not like an old ad doesn't apply to the new ad.
Right,
and-
then we don't have to put
That's
it,
brilliant,
Yeah.
excellent idea.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
do
and I
that.
wonder too if we probably shouldn't put, I noticed, okay, through the stress of everything, you know, every once in a while I gander to see what jobs are available in case I might want to apply for them. But some of the places online put like dates that they opened the position up.
Then you know how old it is.
Yes, so
and
then you kind of know, is that
we
really a
also
new
need
ad
to
or
do,
an old ad?
we need to do wage ranges. Because I think we do ourselves a disservice by not listing anything, then you get people that are on the high scale to the low scale, and they don't know even what you're looking for. So if we put depends on experience, then we at least have a range.
salary range.
And we've done that before.
Because, just like here, we got somebody in here that we could, no way's gonna come here, cause we
Right.
don't pay 80,000
Right.
a year or something.
Right. So I move to approve the clerk entering a permanent ad in the Lincoln Sentinel, listing our website for employment opportunities.
I second the same.
Is there any further discussion? Those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
So it is my assumption that with that motion, Dawn, it remains until revoked.
Yeah.
So it'll be a constant expense to us, but really, it's probably a money saver, so we don't have these and these and these, and then you're constantly back and forth manipulating. If you just control the website now, when they look, it'll say what position, salary range, the requirements, and then you can
Starting
edit
date,
them.
Closing date.
Yes. Yeah, perfect, okay. So, I believe that concludes everything that we need to do for looking at the applications.
I guess next Monday afternoon, then, we're gonna interview
Yes.
for one position, right?
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
Then I can narrow that other
and you can
down.
review those, other ones.
And am I scheduling those? Is
I was
this on
just,
your meeting?
I was
or-
just gonna say, how do you wanna do that?
What, you mean what time, or over the day?
Someone needs to contact the two applicants for their interviews, ask them to come at times that correlate to our open meeting and his availability. And I would suggest that be in the afternoon. Next week, if we start at 10, we usually have stuff on the agenda until after 12, so maybe we could start at 1,
1 o'clock?
1 and 3, or what, something like that. I mean, that's what we're hoping for, but if they're unavailable, we may have to change.
1 or 2. We don't need 2 hours for
Are you trying to skip out early?
that. Yeah. Sure as hell.
Okay,
I
I'll
get a-
contact one if you contact
I'll
one.
get a hold of Emmett, I get it.
I'll go at 1
Let's
o'clock.
not- Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
how
leave
about
that in
either
executive
myself
session.
or somebody else?
let's have Dawn do it.
I'd love
Okay.
Dawn
Do
to
you
do
mind?
it.
No.
They're done.
Once we find an HR person, this is the kind of stuff I believe Mr. Gableman was saying we could assign to them instead of you, so
Yeah.
you please still do that for us as of now. Let's go for Monday afternoon, and what's the alternate date? If they can't do Monday, for whatever reason,
Tuesday,
Doesn't matter to me.
whatever, what's good for you?
Tuesday afternoon, let's just, to the next day, would
Yeah,
that be okay?
same time, 1,
Sure,
1, 2.
that'll work.
Is that all, Brendan, you have? For now?
So,
That's enough, huh?
yeah, I did take a look at the property
Okay.
over on 18.
I have some other
We have reclamations.
people someday that wanna have their stuff looked at, but I'll give you later. You got enough right
Yeah, give
now.
them a week.
Yeah.
I would appreciate though an email back as to the follow-up on Next Tech and what they're gonna do about retrieving all the deleted information off the computer from the highway department.
Yep, I will give them a call here and then I'll go run. When I leave here, I'll call next back from the office and then I'll go meet gentlemen over at my facility.
Okay.
That's right, unless you need me here for the rest.
Nope.
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's working too hard.
That's pretty fancy.
Oh,
Real
it's just me
remote
over
right
there
there.
trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say, that was scary. It was just, all of a sudden, it was magic.
Yeah, they got remote controls for that nowadays.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. Start with the, I did email you guys the
Yes.
application things that need to be signed.
Sold the
There are
grant.
several places. I did fix the one thing you said, Jim. I think every one of these has to have a signature.
Okay, so,
This is for the 2019 EMPG grants.
I know, but I was wondering, is that dollar amount that's reimbursable based on the budget for, well, it's 2019,
2019.
so it doesn't matter, it's just whatever was in
Right.
there before.
Right.
Okay. Because even though we receive it in our working year that's different, it's all based on last year's numbers. And
Yes.
when you said that we got in the end of August, what was owed, is that the one that we had been waiting on? That is it, the EMPG?
Uh-huh.
And that is the subsidized portion of the wages?
Right,
Okay, then I'm clear now.
right. And I asked for, it said to ask for around the same amount, so I did, but we'll probably get less because you don't have a full-time position for the whole year. Since it's only 8 months and then depending, I mean, I just estimated.
But our budget was for the
Part-time.
full, I mean.
It doesn't matter, if you didn't spend it, I don't think they'll probably give us the whole
Or
amount.
maybe
I
that's why
could be
they're
wrong,
acting, oh, maybe that's why they're acting retro
I don't,
in the calendar year,
they're
but
just so far behind.
it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's really not helpful to us at all. If
No.
we're basically having to put front the money.
Well, it used to be, I think the application came out, they get the application like in March, and it used to come out in July-ish, and then it was sent in, and they knew by October, and you got a check in the same year. Well, now they're about 6 months, 8 months behind in the whole process, because the application just came out.
But I'm
But
saying,
they got it in March, they just haven't,
but technically then when
Got
we
it out.
budget, we should take this dollar amount and budget it into next year's line item.
Correct.
We shouldn't still be budgeting, which we're not doing.
right,
Every budget I've approved or worked on has him applying for that subsidized portion in that current year. So really, we're having to front money out of the budget.
for one into the
For the-
next,
for
unless
the
they would
salary
happen to
line.
get it done and you get a check before December, but I wouldn't count my, you know.
So Dawn, how can we change that? Because we have this dollar amount already budgeted into the current working year, but it looks like we may not even get that until,
I don't really know because we didn't get last year's in time either.
but it just came now, right?
Yes,
She
and-
said the end of August. So
And we had to record it as revenue because it didn't get in to be actually
right
considered
year,
a
in the proper
reimbursement.
year.
Right, yeah.
So now that we have that budget line item changed, could we just take this, how do we do that? Well, we can't change the budget
Too
anymore
late now. we
Yeah.
approved it.
No, well,
But for next year, I'm saying, we gotta straighten that out somehow. We can't just keep receiving money in the year after we were budgeting it to come in. I mean, that's not good for the books.
it just won't turn it onto a reimbursement anymore. It will be that you're levying the full amount, but then you're putting the other amount that you're actually receiving as a line item in the revenue part. So
So
basically,
create a line item for revenue that's based on the proposed grant, like the receipt from the grant, and then okay.
it just becomes like clerk fees
So
and
we have to
the
remember that
register
for
of
next
deeds
year.
fees and things like that.
But we gotta put a
Okay.
value in there, we think we'll get reimbursed and we don't know what it is, right?
Well,
Last year it was 74 something, so I just
Yeah.
put 75. They said put close to what, it's
Okay.
just a budget,
and I think that there's
so.
I think there's something that tells them, cause like count a certain site, we only get X amount of dollars, or if you combine, you get X amount of dollars. You don't, I don't think it's based upon your size or anything like that. I think they just,
It's
Like
a
divvy up the
bare
money and
minimum,
say-
Yeah,
Okay.
so, but,
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to sign, I'll just sign as the chairperson.
yeah, there's a ton of pages to sign.
What are we doing again? I'll make a
literally
motion.
just the one page I think should be.
Well, yeah, but since there's no one to sign, she's gonna have to sign them all.
Oh, that's right.
I'll make a motion to sign the application for emergency management performance grant, EMPG funds. Is that all?
Right.
Second, same.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the EMPG grant through the chairman's signature. Any further discussion?
I think that one's on the second page.
Those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And I don't know if you should sign both sides or of that first
Yeah,
one.
because commission chair, well, authorized official and manager coordinator. Well, it says open, so I'll just sign on this side.
Okay. Like I said, I just put open in the spots.
Yeah.
where
That's fine. Or authorized designee, so. Right, I'm just gonna make sure. Okay. Oh, this is a palindrome day.
Was it really?
It is.
What day is it?
Palindrome, it's
Yep.
9199919 and 9,
It's 9/9, yeah.
okay, signature.
Had a sale on mines.
I hired on way back when on 77 and 77. Shows how old I
Do
am.
you need this
What's that?
name of organization and FEIN?
Oh, I didn't put it in there. Yes, I do.
Uh,
Lincoln County, and I don't know that number.
48
Dawn knows on.
601 9537.
You can never leave, Don.
Oh, I know the number. I just don't have it memorized.
That's why Don can never leave.
It's our tax ID number.
Mm-hmm, FEIN. Okay. I think that's it.
Okay.
Are there two?
No,
Copies?
that's just the rest of that.
Okay.
I'll make a copy for Dawn and so. Now, at some point, I don't know how much David and the highway department did for the federal, for the flooding stuff, but at some point, if we get over that $750,000 mark from federal funds, we'll have to do a
In
different.
a year?
Uh-huh, you have to do a different kind of audit, but Dawn knows that, so. But I don't think that's coming down the pike anytime soon with all these disasters that they've had.
You have to do a single audit, and it's all of your federal funds combined, so
Yeah,
like,
Oh,
could be between hers and
Yeah,
them
yeah.
yeah,
and the bridge funds it creates.
yeah, we just have to keep an eye on that. I'll leave you a copy upstairs, is that okay? Okay.
Yes.
We got this grant from Daisy Hansen for $15,000 for the siren. And I guess you just deposit that in that, I don't know where you deposit that at. I know he's still waiting for 2 other grants. So if they don't get them, this money will have to be returned.
Right, and then there was a question about our portion.
About
Were
your
you-
portion, yeah.
Were you, was that with you?
No, I don't remember
So-
dealing with that.
All I could find in the minutes is that he asked for your guys' permission to apply or to contact each of the cities
But it wasn't
about the ownership, but then there was nothing.
nothing about the county giving a portion. So is that written into the grant, whereas that doesn't equal the amount unless the county?
Correct.
And did we get a report back about the emergency management vehicle?
No, I've not seen.
Did you
it.
send the title?
I took him down the title and the keys, but was I supposed to ask him for that? I'll call and ask for it.
It's okay, I mean, it's just because it was part of the motion, but I think we need record of what happened to that thing.
So
And he told me he hadn't talked to anybody, so I should have known that. I just wasn't thinking.
That's fine, I know that I added that in the motion because I wanted to have just some sort of substantial.
Yeah, I maybe
information.
should've went down and talked to him, after we made our
Well, I
motion.
talked to him on the phone,
Oh,
but
you
that's,
did?
my word
Oh.
isn't good enough.
You'll
I
find
wanted
it
something
over
in
No, but
writing.
when, oh, yeah,
I don't
But-
want to be.
but we made the motion.
well, I guess,
to,
yes.
Yeah.
But-
My
and
only
don't
question
follow
was
through
if
the
it
title.
comes,
Yeah.
if it.
We want
If
writing, you're
it
right.
carries
I do.
over
Some people
into
were saying
next
maybe
year
we should've
before
said
all
that
the
in blue
funds
they're
are collected,
Thinking we could've got more.
how
for
is
it,
that
because
kept
they're
track
thinking,
of that it
first of all,
belongs to that project?
Here, how much do you get for commission?
Well, number one,
Selling it on an auction.
I'm
we didn't ask
thinking
him
that we
that,
don't
and
even
they should've.
cash this
I mean,
until
I
we
wouldn't say
know.
Well, that's why I
Do
wanted
you want me to
writing,
hold
what
on
is
to
wrong
it
with the
then and
vehicle.
just leave it in the
Because
file?
I can put it
Yeah,
up.
If there's
well,
something
well,
legitimately
he
wrong,
said,
I
he told,
can't be
when
asking
he told
for
me
it.
I had
Okay,
to ask,
but-
then it would get hot.
When are they
And then
supposed to
that's
say
when
they're
we-
matching funds?
But
We
if it's
don't
running,
know.
we
Well,
started
the
it
end
running,
of,
okay.
by the end
So-
of October, we'll
I
know
know,
about
but
the
you don't
rest
wanna
of
sell
it,
something
other
and then
than
have it
the
come back
county.
on
Well, I
you
wanna make
sold it
sure
and it
he-
was in.
Whatever
He
you
said to us
decide.
is correct.
Well,
So
I
I
don't
think
know.
we just hold on to this
Yeah,
and
and
then once
also,
they know,
He
and
can buy
then
it at auction,
at that
sell
point
it
in
for
time,
nothing,
somebody
and then we
Well,
sell
either
it
needs to
for
go
double.
talk to
You
Mitchell
know,
County
people
or
are
talk to the city of
concerned
Hunter
about
or
that.
decide.
I don't
Are
know.
we gonna
It's just
contribute?
speculation.
Yeah.
I know.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
know, yeah. and
I'm not
can
sure why
do
we
stuff
would
like
pay
that
for
up
something
front.
that's not even
I
in
guess
our
my
county.
issue was,
but
we didn't even know
Right,
there was
other
anything
than
wrong
that
with it, and it
district
was
is
sitting
in our
down there for
county.
2 months.
Yeah.
The
That
fire
bothered me.
district is,
Yes.
yes.
Right.
This tornado siren.
Well, it's an all siren, it's for everything.
Is that, did they already get that siren?
No.
No.
Okay.
We're waiting for 2 other grants for, and we have to get those, or that one then we have to send back. Who are
But
those
what,
other?
but what she's saying is there are X amount of grants that make up Y total.
Oh.
And in that X is a portion that was stated by the prior emergency manager that the county was going to give funds for. At this point, where would those even come from is my question, because
Like we'd have to match something
although we
with
could
that?
have some left in the budget now that we don't have a paycheck from
Like
the
we-
salary.
He has $7,800 coming from Lincoln County to fund a Mitchell County organization or a Mitchell County town.
Mm.
So the question is do you want Lincoln County funds to come from it? And then
mean
at what
because of
point in time?
Hunter?
where-
But the siren's
isn't
not
it for
just
all
for
of
the
them?
tornado, it's for all.
But it's not just for that town, right?
Yes,
It's for every.
No,
this
it's just
project
for
is
the
just
town.
Hunter, that's the
Yeah.
project they picked to start with, the fire chiefs.
Yeah.
But it's not just for tornado, it's for the fire tones and all the other tones that come out
But
of
we
it.
do have collaborative EMS and
Yeah,
fire
We
department.
have a Hunter Fire
Yeah.
Department, did you go up to it?
yeah. And Hunter is.
We work with Mitchell
Fire
County.
district is in Lincoln, but the tornado siren would be for Mitchell County citizens.
Oh,
So
okay.
probably, I know one of the Mitchell County, Community Foundation is one of the grants that has already,
Mitchell County
yes.
and Post Rock.
Well, Post Rock, we haven't decided on grants for there yet.
Oh,
That
what's
will
the
be
one
done
you
in
just got?
October.
Dave
That is
Hansen.
DG
Dave
Hansen,
Hansen, okay.
direct.
And so Post Rock is one of the ones that's unknown.
And GL Hewitt, which should come either this month or next month, I'm not
Each
sure.
one, it's been approved.
I don't know, no,
Okay.
it's out there.
So, where would we even pull that from? I mean, unless we designated some of the money out of the emergency management fund, since that person said that there were funds coming. I should.
I don't know, I guess maybe.
Do you remember what month
Should
that was
talk
in,
to
Dawn?
the fire guys, I guess.
When you looked at the minutes?
You know,
Or
I don't know
did
why
we
they
check it?
picked Hunter first. That was the
I-
fire chief's meeting
I
that
thought
they
they
picked that.
indicated it was already installed, but evidently it didn't.
Well, it probably has the most deteriorated equipment, that's my
It
guess.
could be.
Because like Sylvan's is still pretty much intact, and you think Lincoln has two, right? So,
So,
but I'm saying, are we gonna spend, if we don't put that portion in, none of the grant goes
It's
through.
all
And how
gone.
much was the Dane one?
15,000.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and the others, there's 4, and I think they're all 4,500 or something. I didn't bring that
And we
one.
would have to contribute how much?
$7,800.
I think,
I
yeah.
mean, you guys need to be visiting with your commissioners from Mitchell County. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's.
I don't mean to be mean, and I
And we-
understand
and
that
our-
Renton
and our
Fire District is a
employee-
portion of
Right.
that, but they also have the Denmark portion that's in Lincoln County. And I get that. But I don't think that our taxpayers should have to pay 100% of some expense for a community that's not even in our community.
Was that at the end of last year? Was it 18?
I agree.
Yes.
Because it was before you were on, right? You don't remember talking to me?
No,
Okay,
I don't.
then it was 18.
Well, I was wondering that before, Don, we talked, when I first come on, we got
You
Hunter
see-
Fire Department, I'm going, well, Hunter's in Mitchell County, why are we,
But their fire department their fire district is in Lincoln
our
County.
district is us,
It
but
also extends into or Osborne County and Russell County as well.
Yeah.
So are we
let's-
asking all of those
So let's write all
counties?
three to ask them to split in quarters that county portion. Although we already paid someone to
Well,
do
we
the
should-
handwriting portion
Well,
of
let me
it.
double
we
check
should talk to
those.
Mitchell County about
But
it.
the siren itself probably ought to be,
Owned, it's gonna be owned there,
yeah, but
not
we-
by us.
that should be prorated because it's worth more than just a fire district.
Oh,
That is
no,
for a lot
no, the
of other stuff.
repeater board was gonna own,
Yes, and follow, I
That's the
don't know the
conversation that
whole
was in the
grant.
minutes, was just, were you willing to take ownership and could he
and
go
we
apply
asked
for
the
the
repeater
grants
board to do
and
it.
approach the cities, and you guys said yes, that he could do that, and that was like last fall. And then he didn't qualify for any of the grants, or the 2 grants that he applied for said, they wanted to hear back from these other
Right,
grants
because they were gonna
first.
do it all as one big project, and then it went down to just one at a time. And I don't know how they picked Hunter or why they picked Hunter or what,
Well, Mitchell County. ought to be
Where else
fine.
were they gonna put them, in Denmark?
well, I think everybody needs new equipment and new things.
I think he was gonna put a new one in Vesper.
Would there-
Okay.
There isn't one in Vesper, there was an
Yeah.
additional one someplace.
Yeah.
So how many are there, like in Lincoln County, Sylvan, Lincoln,
Still,
Vesper,
one in each community.
Barnard, and Westfall? In Denmark?
Um,
Probably not up there.
I don't know what's.
But Hunter,
I would think
Sylvan,
Denmark.
Vesper,
They have a fire
Lincoln,
district.
Barnard, Westfall, that's like 6 of them.
Beverly.
Beverly, yeah,
Mhm.
7. That's, and they're all gonna be 20, 30 grand? Or whatever?
Yeah.
It was a very big.
It was a
project.
big project. It was like in the $200,000.
Oh, really?
Whole project, I think.
I wasn't involved in that.
Yeah, so.
But I agree too on this with Don on this. Mitchell County should be approached and saying, it's in your county, can't you contribute too?
Well, I don't know that he did that or not.
He did not, because he told me he did not.
Or the city. of
And I'm not having nothing
Hunter.
against Hunter, and nothing against the Hunter Fire District, but it is in their county, they're not coming down here paying for our stuff. That I know of, anyway.
I don't think it hurts to have a conversation.
We should,
And then you can make an informed decision after that. But
maybe we could do that, have a teleconference call in Mitchell County.
just to say, hey, we're
Just
gonna.
write them and request.
Or write them,
Why
write
don't we
them.
just write and
Write
request that
them.
we split these funds?
Yeah.
And we know we have a little bit extra.
I would
we can
write
pull out
the
emergency
Mitchell
management
County
fund from this year.
Commissioners, I know 2 of them, pretty kinda. But, ask them that, say, this is, where we're at, and it's a concern of ours, and could we discuss it with you at least, maybe?
Well, particularly since it's
Why don't we
gonna
just
be
ask
used
them for
more
the
than
funds?
fire.
I think that's fair.
How much?
Just to split
I was
it.
gonna say, I don't know what's left. I don't have that file with me, but I
Up
could
to
get that, I could
7,800.
get that number.
Of the 7,800 is what I'm saying.
Is that the right number, 7,800?
I see what you're saying.
I don't know if that's the right
Yeah.
number or not.
Approximately, something like that, huh?
Yeah, somewhere in there, I think.
Well, we could, I don't know if you want to ask him for it right up front, Alexa, but I think we could talk to him about it and say, hey,
I personally don't see the problem in just writing and saying, hey, this is the project that we have going on. This is the remainder amount of funds. Would you
Yep.
please contribute $3,300? By the time we do that 3 times,
Right.
that covers it.
Yeah.
like half of it,
A
Oh,
third. Well,
yeah.
who did you say? It's
Osborne,
Mitchell, Osborne, and
Russell,
And Russell.
us. Oh, so
Russell's
orders.
not, Russell's not in.
Okay, so
sorry.
thirds. So let's do thirds.
Osborne.
How is Osborne County in it?
They're right next door to,
Oh,
you
I
go
know,
Part
but
of
how
it is-
far?
They're part of the
fire district.
couple of miles, 3 or 4.
They're only like, Hunter's only like 2.5 miles, east of,
Yeah,
Osborne
Osborne
County.
County, yeah.
It runs over to Del High Community and back.
Not Russell, yeah, how'd I say
Is
Russell?
there,
Well,
Laura, is
Russell
there a
is
way for you to
Quite up
verify?
there too, isn't it?
Yes,
Up
I have
Russell
the
is.
file
I don't
at my
know,
office,
no,
I just don't
trust-
have it
It
today.
goes-
Email me the
Osborne goes
exact dollar
further
amount,
south.
and
It's
I will
Russell probably
prepare a
comes out
letter
of
to
Lucas
propose that we
with
split
Ray.
that dollar amount in
They'll
thirds.
probably reach out
And then
that
I'm just
far, I
gonna,
don't know.
would get their permission and mail it out.
But I do know that we do Osborne. up
Then
there.
it's done, and we can say it's covered. If not, then we have to figure out if we're gonna finance that ourselves.
Right, okay,
Did you happen to look at your email before you came up here?
yes,
And you got my email that there will be a, okay.
yeah, I got that.
It'll be what?
We're gonna send the health questionnaire out.
Yeah.
So they have to print it out for their departments.
Oh.
And then I was saying, all the department heads wanted notified of the meeting that we're going to be discussing the plans, right? So that will happen here, just so you know, is gonna hopefully happen this last full week of the month.
Okay,
Oh, pick
I would assume.
with the
Because-
health insurance.
What we told her is we try to have everybody turn it in by the end of this week. We knew a few people were on vacation, so they can turn it in next week. That gives her that whole week to analyze the information. And so maybe on the 30th, she's gonna have to notify the state by the 1st. But we will probably go ahead, she's saying, right now it looks like we're gonna pull out of the state plan. But that doesn't mean we're not going with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, but we wanted to get all the estimates, so hopefully, I'm assuming by the 30th, she could have some information for us.
Well,
So that's
hopefully.
just tentative.
Now,
but-
Rhonda's sending out all the questionnaires, is she not?
No, she's sending it to me, and then I'm forwarding it to the
Okay.
department heads. They have to distribute it to their employees, and the employee is individually responsible for getting it to Dawn.
So
That
they-
way it's HIPAA
You
compliant all
have
the
to
way
have
You
a
can
around.
seal.
send it
Will
to
go with
me.
that.
I will.
Okay, send me one, then I just, on email?
Yes.
Yeah, and then we'll just email it to Donna.
Yeah, I guess I should put your personal
You
email
got
in the
my
department.
address?
I do. I have your
Yeah,
email.
you got
Because when Dawn sends all three of us something, I can send
James
your email.
Gableman at gmail.com.
I just, the 26th in
I
the
spelled
morning,
it
I
wrong,
could not
too.
come. I know.
G-A-B-L-A.
Just throw
I'm
it
assuming
out.
she'll come to
It
us
did,
on a
did.
Monday meeting,
Okay.
and we'll section off like an hour.
Okay. For Homeland Security, the Highway Patrol administers the Homeland Security grants. And Edna Quarter from the Highway Patrol is coming on the 25th to Lincoln County to inventory anything that we've gotten from Homeland Security funds. Marie over in Ottawa County, the emergency manager, talked to her, and she is not going to inventory anything that is in charge, the emergency manager would be in charge of, since we don't have an emergency manager, and I don't know where all that stuff is, and I don't know who does. She's not going to inventory that, so it's just the Barnard Fire Department, Lincoln Fire Department, the Health Department, Sheriff's Office, and the Beverly Fire Department. And most of it's in the morning, some of it's in the afternoon, but I will get a hold of those fire chiefs just to make sure. They all got an email, but I'm just to make sure that they do that.
That's on the 25th.
Yes. And a lot of them just have one thing, a camera or a light pole, or we have a cooler. I mean, it's not, most of it was the emergency manager stuff, and she's just gonna delay that until we get somebody appointed, so.
Okay. But maybe that's not a good idea, because if it's missing out of the inventory.
I don't think it probably is, it's just where is it? I mean, I don't, somebody's gonna have to go with her and dig through the storeroom and the FAD trailer and all that stuff. I
It's
mean,
a joint inventory.
if somebody wants to do it, they can, but. And not only do they wanna see the stuff, but the training that has been done on how to use the equipment and any policies that you have for the equipment, so.
So who is this contact person?
Edna Cordner, Cordner.
Okay.
So,
Do you have an email or a number?
I have an email.
Uh-huh.
Edna.Cordner@ks.gov.
Okay. And is this like an annual audit, or is this like something called in?
I don't know if they do it every county annually. I think they just pick a certain percentage and come around. They have never, we've had the cooler for 5 or 6 years. They've never come down to our building to look at it. Make sure we had it, so.
Maybe this is because we have this paid lobbyist. What do you call himself? An advocate. That sounds just about right.
And I know the CERT team, which John Paul's part of, inventoried that stuff when David first started.
Oh, good.
So,
we might be able to.
He may know what.
he might know a little bit about it, but I mean, if you want it to be inventoried, then I know nothing about it, so, other than what my stuff is, and I have a list of big stuff.
Person and ask her to meet with the commission, because we're ultimately responsible. So if they want to come here, they need to come to us, and I'll just go about it that way. This chain of command stops here.
So,
Suggest a courtesy visit. That it isn't a courtesy visit, it's a mandatory requirement.
and it's the 25th.
Oh, that's
so
fine, they can
it's
inventory
that
their products
Wednesday.
and their commodities.
But,
Well, they'll have to accommodate us on Monday.
and I have the list, I could forward the email to,
Yeah, just forward that to me and I will get right in touch.
so you see what's on there.
When did you receive that, what date?
Let's see,
Is this just all through the?
September 5th.
Okay, didn't we speak to the advocate on the 2nd? Wasn't that last week?
Yeah, but this is
Yeah.
different. This is Homeland Security and Highway Patrol. This is not KDM. This is a whole separate ball of wax.
I know, but
Okay.
who else would be doing an audit for any of the materials besides that department? Surely someone would know that. And it's only on their owned equipment, or
Yes, only things
but
that,
is it leased, or is it just stuff that's been purchased with, is it
It's
grant
just-
money?
it's been purchased with grant money, and you have to show you still have it.
Okay, that's no big deal.
Just an inventory.
So they should have the inventory list.
I have the list,
Okay,
but I don't know where all the stuff is.
that's okay.
They're basically confirming that you're actually
you have it.
utilizing
Yeah.
it.
And that
yeah.
somebody knows how to use the equipment properly. Because I know like some people got 12 new laptop computers, and when they did the first inventory, none of them were out of the box 5 years later. So, yeah.
Not here.
No,
Okay.
not here.
Okay.
But, yeah,
Wow,
so.
yeah.
So do we need to
Yeah.
go around and look at it before they show up, just to make sure we know where things are, or?
That's up to you guys.
I'm actually gonna call, and I will let you know what the person says. Dawn, can you point me in the direction of the season when we had that conversation?
Okay.
I'm like clear back in,
I found
June.
3 sets of emails, or 3 sets of minutes, I apologize.
that's alright,
6/11/18,
okay.
9/17/18, and 10/22/18. And the 6/11 one said that Doe provided background information on the emergency sirens located in each city and unincorporated communities, and provided an estimate to replace all sirens and add an additional siren in Vesper. Doe related that the repeater board would like to take over the ownership of the sirens and assess each community an annual fee to ensure that the sirens are maintained on a regular basis. The repeater board would also like to apply for grant funding for the project and inquired if the board would consider providing financial assistance. The board authorized Doe to contact the communities regarding the proposal.
So, did this grant actually get submitted by the repeater board?
I think
That's-
David submitted it.
So on 9/17,
So, but he did that on behalf of the repeater board.
he requested approval to move one of the sirens located in the city of Lincoln to the nursing home to allow the siren to be connected to the generator. If grant funds are approved to replace the sirens, the board approved the placement of the siren at the nursing home. Okay, that was something else. Okay, so then that was the Stop the Bleed training. On 10/22, then scroll down on that one. Emergency Manager David Doe related that organizations that he had applied to for the tornado sirens have requested that he apply directly to the Jane Hansen Foundation before they make a final decision on the application.
Okay, so who's the check made out to?
Lincoln County Emergency Management. So that would be who he applied under.
Right, but it specifically says, Doe related that the repeater board would like to take over the ownership, and the repeater board would also like to apply for grant funding. So this all should have been going through the repeater board,
Are they a 501c3?
but David Doe's not a 501c3.
No, but
I think we qualify under the federal government.
under government, but
They're-
I'm not sure the repeater
They're a
board.
the repeater board is a quasi-governmental agency for sure, because we're appointed, so.
And then I don't have anything popping up in 2019.
But the Dane Hansen money came to Lincoln County Emergency Management.
And just speaking from experience, they write checks to the organization that applied, so that
Right,
would be
right.
how.
But that's not what it said was going to happen in the minutes, is all I'm saying. So now I don't know, we'll have to see what was said in the actual meeting.
And I can pull out his reports that he gave to you guys and see if it was
And
mentioned in.
I don't know who's on the repeater board and how they picked Hunter to be first, I don't know. Or the fire,
I
I
would assume
choose,
that's
I don't know
just
who
based on
did it.
need.
I don't know who made that decision. And I don't have the grant in front of me, or I could read it and it would tell me something, but I didn't look at it that close.
Okay, so back to your department head issues. We are going to propose a purchase policy, which we've already discussed with you about making it like a minimum per department. Not related to consumables that you know you need to have regularly on hand. And then a hiring policy also, I think we need to actually put this in writing because we've talked about it, but I will work on that over the next few weeks and we can approve it once we put our opinions on it. And then I'll email that out just as correspondence with the department heads. We kind of had a question about if you wanted to do a promotion within your department or advertising every time across the board for an opening and then allowing that person who wants the promotion to go ahead and, which is probably what we've decided is the best mechanism. And that we would be primarily only involved with department heads and immediate subordinates that may have to report to us in a department head absence, but other than that, as far as the HR situation is concerned, we will get an HR person in here and then you would collaborate as department head with that person for the rest of your hiring and that kind of thing. Oh, so that's what I wanted to talk about, the handbook. She was already working on some of the edits with,
Good.
and then you weren't in here, he had said he was working on the handbook, some new and or revised information.
I've got a revised draft I'll give to you if you want it.
I would like to see us proceed with a few sessions from now to the end of the year, working on that and making some changes and then coming out with a new, how much does that cost to print on?
We normally do it in our office and we bind it using our binder.
You got a binder like this?
Yes,
Do you have one or you send it out?
we have one.
Cause I got one.
We have one, but to be honest with you, it takes a lot of man hours. It'd probably almost be cheaper We probably should at least bid it out and see what it would
Like
cost.
just consolidated printing or something. So.
Yeah,
How many do you make?
well, you're gonna have to make one for every single employee.
So,
And then you have to
We
make
should
them
make
a
100.
different, you have to make them, cause the highway department gets a different one because of their drug policy in the back than what everybody else
And
gets.
they got specialty for them.
well,
And the rest, so probably like about 100, just approximately. And then, but 25 for the highway department, or 30 or whatever.
We are.
I would just like to see what the price is.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you right now, I could do that for nothing.
You're gonna have your second wife do it for nothing.
Well, no, she doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Boy,
I've done a million of those, teaching and selling handbooks and all that stuff. I've done 100 is not a big deal,
well,
honest.
can,
And I can do it for nothing.
can we let him do that without
I ain't
some
got my own
some weird
machine.
conflict
I
of
don't like yours,
interest
I
or
use
something?
mine. I'll charge you for the plastic things.
We have plastic things.
Well, we can't bill, or you can't bill us as a seated elected official.
We
Let's
have
just
the
wait and
plastic
see if we
things.
actually get a handbook done
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we'll have the conversation after that.
We are meeting again on the 24th at 9 o'clock.
well, we work on
Who,
it.
the
It's good.
department heads?
Takes
Yes.
time to get it.
9 AM,
Yeah, to work on the rest
Tuesday.
of the handbook and any other questions that have come up in the interim
Where do you meet?
here, over there,
What word processing program do you have on your computer?
Word,
Okay,
Word. Windows Office.
I use Word Perfect, but I'll give you a Word copy you can play with.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Word perfect, nobody uses that anymore.
Only people that write books for a living.
Oh, yeah.
I
If you
have
write
a
book,
couple
you use
other
it.
emergency management things.
Oh, sorry.
The emergency operations plan, which is the huge county plan, is due every 5 years. Ours will expire August 1st of 2020. This time, the KDM is doing it as regions versus each individual county doing their own. It'll still be our own, but it'll be started out as a regional project, and then you have to make it your own. The first meeting is in Jewel on October 30th.
October 30th this year.
Yes.
So,
It's in Mankato, actually. Yes. It'll be the first workshop that they have. So, that's on a Wednesday. Usually Wednesdays I can go to. I don't, maybe by October you'll have somebody hired.
yeah,
I don't know.
may I interrupt you?
So.
We just approved our new job description and ad. So hopefully in a month, we will have already done interviews and selected someone. So
Okay.
that's on the agenda anyhow.
Okay.
What was this for again,
That's a
Ladonna?
hopeful.
This is for our big county emergency operations plan. And
Oh,
it's
It's a, like a regional thing.
Well, it's
according
in
to
the-
the statutes, it's why the position exists. They want you to have a comprehensive plan and
Statute.
update it and be able to transmit that information. So now they're not only doing it county, they're creating a combined regional effort.
yeah. Yeah. And in order to get other grant funding, you have to have an emergency operations plan.
Well, that's,
And
I
if
think,
anything
statutory.
ever happens, if you don't have a plan, you're in big trouble.
Well, I think that's in the statute
Well,
as to
but
why
it
the
has to be
position
approved.
exists.
Like Mitchell County hasn't had an approved plan for years. So hopefully nothing ever happens
I
up
don't think the
there.
statute says approved anything, it just says you have to create one.
Right,
Yeah.
but
Let's see.
in order to apply for grants and things, it has to be approved by KDM. So,
Who approves that, Homeland Security?
KDM's
KDM?
Department of Emergency Management, yeah. So,
But
Yeah.
ultimately, they are probably subsidized, funded by Homeland
Homeland
Security.
Security, yeah.
That's my guess. I mean,
I-
that State Department's
That
probably
I don't know.
subsidizing.
so yeah, if you don't have somebody by
Let's do
then,
that,
I
yeah.
probably could do that one.
Mhm.
At
We got
least
a
go to the
contact
meeting
list
and get
now,
the
and Washington
information.
will call him
I'm
down
not
there.
going to complain.
September
Oh, big boy.
24th is also the Regional Homeland Security meeting. and Beloit, I don't know,
What is it?
Regional Homeland
September
Security in
24th?
Beloit.
That's when
You already
you're
had a
having
meeting that day.
meeting, yeah.
Is it in the
So-
afternoon?
No, that's in the morning. So, and I'd already said I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be the Homeland Security person, I don't wanna listen to that, sorry. September 17th. I wrote a note. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I wrote a note for somebody. Is the floodplain management meeting in Ottawa County? I think it's an hour and a half long. Truitt is going. That's what I heard from Ottawa County, because he's also Ottawa County's appraiser. So maybe somebody should go ask him if he'll represent Lincoln County and get some information. I don't know. I don't know anything about the floodplain and management stuff, and I think it's supposed to go through the appraiser's office, but I don't know that either. So, but somebody probably ought to ask Truitt to represent us too.
That
What
might
day,
be-
what day is that again? 17th?
The
17th.
17th.
Of
I don't
September.
have any information on it.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask Truitt, because I think
That
it's
might
like
be of
from
interest to water
10 to
district
11:30
43.
or 9 to 10:30 or something like that.
How do we get older than October of last year?
It's not on.
And I have some other dates, but nothing until October, so, the end of October, so hopefully you'll have some of that.
Okay.
Maybe you'll have somebody hired by then. That's all I have
Thank you, April
for
15th.
emergency
That's yours,
management
isn't it?
stuff.
Okay, thanks, you need it back, or?
No, because I
That's in
wrote it
Minneapolis,
down.
you said?
It's in Minneapolis, yeah,
September, Truitt's going.
September 17th.
Do we wanna ask Truitt if he would take notes for the commissioners?
Yeah, I'm not sure I think this was a question, what department does do the floodplain management stuff?
That'd probably be.
Well, I can answer that.
Okay,
Don Harlow is apparently approved as the floodplain manager
Well-
for Lincoln County, although I'm not qualified, nor was
No.
I was
I-
told by FEMA that we wouldn't have to do anything until they come in to map us. And they still have not come in to map us, like 15
yeah,
years
but
later.
it has to do with mapping and all that kind of stuff. I think it belongs in the appraiser's office, but I don't know. That's what other counties are telling me.
It
So-
probably belongs in one of your watershed districts because they have all this floodplain mapping already.
Yeah.
They don't, only for their inundation areas, and that's the problem. And that's part of the reason why, so we weren't able to get
We're paying
flood
two
insurance
departments.
until we signed up to do that FEMA, and they did that after the last major flood that we had. So then people could buy flood insurance, and they put me as the person, and they told me basically I wouldn't have to do anything up until the point that the federal government comes in and mapping. Now, that's what this meeting is for, is because they're mapping just the Solomon Valley River Basin and its drainage area, which apparently comes into Lincoln County a ways.
That'd be salt.
So then they decided that they would go ahead and do the Saline Valley North, is kind of my understanding of
I
it.
have
But I
no
have no
idea.
idea, and that's another thing that you guys could take off of my shoulders gladly.
Well, yeah.
It needs
we
to
were-
go with the proper department,
I'm not sure.
whoever works with that
Well,
stuff.
when I had 44
So.
watershed district, because it was on the Saline River, we had a lot of that stuff. We sold that to 43 out of Sylvan because they got a lot more dams. But while they're not, they are on the river, so they should have a lot of the Saline River mapping already.
Yeah.
My understanding is
Copy
they
that.
just have the inundation
I'm gonna
get
areas
this
of
audit.
their
I'm gonna do this audit,
watersheds.
Yeah.
But
56.
it doesn't
Well,
necessarily
he called
cover
me the other
everything.
day, too.
And if we had joined and did the floodplain
Yeah, I
management,
will.
Okay.
then it
Thank you.
prohibits
Yeah.
anybody from building in those inundation
Yeah.
areas, because those are the only
I'm gonna
areas
start
that are
putting together
mapped.
the
Yeah, but
policies
44
that we
went all
want
the way to
to
the river. That's what we
forward
had
on.
to do.
Mhm.
So
To
all
the
the
department
Lost
heads.
Creek and stuff.
Yeah, you are.
everything.
I'll start putting them
Okay.
together.
Sure.
I don't necessarily
They're
mean that we're
almost
gonna
desperate.
approve them next week, but
We
I'll
had
start
that.
working on them.
That's, I don't know whether
Okay.
anybody else had that or not, but that's just a thought. But it might be,
I don't know enough about it.
you get a guy out of the watershed, they're in the water business, they already know the water people. That'd be a perfect person to at least be interested in some of that stuff.
Well, the question is, why is our state department not properly funding the watershed districts to be able to do that sort of work,
Well-
and now funding a different
But
department
the
to
watershed,
overlap?
the watershed districts only have to worry about the district itself, as Don
Well,
said.
what other district is gonna flood besides the watershed?
Well, no, the watersheds are the little dams that you have.
But that's because of the water flow in that area.
No, it
It's-
has nothing to do with rivers. It has to do with rainfall, and they have, for example, 43 has 35 dams. All of the little dams that you see out in pastures are watershed dams. Has nothing to do with the river. That's to control the flow of water down to the river in flood times.
Okay, so wouldn't that, I mean, that water is ultimately trying to get to the river. So all you'd have to do is take your watershed districts and add the riverbanks, and there's your flood areas.
Well, I agree. That's what I was saying, but they don't have the river except for District 44. We had the river.
Well, and Truett may know, you might be able just to ask
But
Truett about
in
this,
any
'cause
case,
he may know more, because
The
he's going
guys
to
in
be at
those
the
districts
meetings.
are water people, even though they're farmers. They are attuned to that kind of stuff, and if we had to have a watershed manager, I'd get either the district guy out of 43, which is west of here, or Salt Creek. Salt Creek's in 3 counties, and they'd be really interested. They're in Mitchell, Lincoln, and Ottawa County. And whoever's, and I don't know who it is, but you call over to FSA and they'll tell you in a flash who's the chairman of that. But if you're gonna appoint a watershed guy, I'd get a guy that's got water experience. They talk to the water people all the time and speak and everything.
Is Truett here on Mondays?
I don't know. I know he's here like 1.5 days a week, but
I have no idea.
I'll give it to
it'd be
you.
interesting to see who
Here.
their floodplain manager is in Ottawa too.
Yeah, I have no idea what's what on that. I'm just handing that off. And I'm trying to keep a calendar for the next person
Here.
with info,
Thank
Alexis.
you.
but,
You're far more organized than me.
well, I gotta be, because I can't add it to my pile. It's gotta be in its own. Okay, I will make a copy of this.
Thank
upstairs
you.
for
Thanks, Ladonna.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Hi, it's actually Alexis calling. I'm in the commission meeting. How are you?
Just fine, and yourself?
Good, thank you. We were just wondering, we had been told that you are attending the floodplain mapping meeting on the 24th of this month.
17.
Or, I'm sorry, the 17th. Sorry.
Possibly, I'm not firmly committed to it yet.
Okay, so in your other counties that you work in, what office does that go through? Does it always go through the appraiser's office?
No. It's a different situation here where I accepted the job of floodplain manager. It usually should work through the emergency management office.
Okay. So that's most other emergency managers from those other counties, that's who's participating in the floodplain mapping?
Typically is.
Okay, so you are just assigned from Ottawa County to be that person?
Correct. The mapping comes through our office is the reason they ask us to do it.
Well, does the mapping also come through Lincoln County's appraiser's office?
It does, but I've got no knowledge of how that would usually done through the emergency management.
Why is Ottawa County not doing it through their emergency management?
Because we do zoning through this office, and they thought that it would make it go a little easier for the persons to come here for their zoning and for the emergency, or for the flood zone.
Because
Okay.
you're basically telling them that they can't build if they're in an area that's mapped.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Are you telling them that they cannot build in an area that's mapped as a flood zone?
Well, they can build, but they have to meet certain regulations. as far as if you build a flood zone, you've got to build up so high above, a foot above the flood zone. You've got to put flood doors where water can flow through the building, the structure, where it doesn't obstruct the water. You have to have electrical outlets have to be so high above the ground level.
So when
That's
you,
just-
okay, I think that answers what we were wondering. When you participate in the meetings on behalf of Ottawa County, are you just retrieving information and bringing it back, or none of us have attended one of these meetings, so we're wondering, are you able to just kind of represent Lincoln County this particular month, since we have an opening in that position right now? Is there information that you can transmit?
And usually, this meeting, my understanding is they're just going to distribute information on what they have planned for. Lincoln County doesn't participate in the flood management program, so really, there's not a whole lot that they'll be affected by. In other words, they have to map the county out as to whether you're in the flood zone or not before the different. Well, what they're looking at now is changing the flood levels.
Okay, Truett, this is Dawn. And so after that last major flood that we had, I want to say like in the early 2000s, the commissioners wanted to be able to offer people the opportunity to buy flood insurance. So they agreed to participate in the floodplain. And I'm the floodplain manager, or at least they named me, and they basically told me I would not need to do anything until the federal government come in to map us, and they've never come in to map us yet.
Correct.
But
Correct.
my understanding with these meetings is that they're going to map the Solomon Valley River, or whatever that river is that comes out of Beloit. They're going to map that area in the inundation area, so then that kind of touches into Lincoln County. So then they decided to do from the Saline River, their inundation areas too, and north, so that they were going to be actually mapping our county, basically like the north half of it. It's
Well,
basically kind of what.
I think what it does is the north portion, maybe part of it falls in the Solomon Valley River Basin, is not the same as being mapped. I don't think they can map just a portion of the county, because you run into for flood. If they say that Lincoln County is a flood zone map county, then you have to buy flood insurance to get a federally insured loan if you fall in the flood zone, which I don't think they can make that just for part of the county. They have to do a whole county at a time. Did I ramble enough?
Yes, and I kind of understand what you're saying. So I guess our question is would you represent Lincoln County at that September 17th meeting and bring us the information back? And then I guess we figure out from there.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. That would be very helpful to us right now until we figure out how we're going to fill this position.
Okay.
Okay, I believe that's all we wanted to bother you about, so thank you for your time.
All right, have a good day.
You too.
Did you need his numbers?
No. Thank you. Did you have anyone that you needed to contact? You were going to set up the meal for Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gary
he
Smith.
is going to
I'll get
contact
with
Mr.
and
Michael.
I'll get with Jonathan Shale too, to see if they can schedule anything for the
The
doors
doors.
up at the nursing home.
I am currently emailing this woman about the federal audit.
And I emailed that company last week about the roof, and he was supposed to get back with me with a date that they plan to be there to replace that roof on the nursing home, but I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
So it'll be a pest and email them yet again.
I am going to let the person know that they can contact us to get on the agenda.
Okay.
Are we gonna schedule county attorney one of these days to come down and run over 5 or 6 things?
I sent her the email, well, I didn't tell her about multiple things, I just sent her the email about the nursing home and if she would get on the schedule with us relatively soon.
Do we, want to send John Grace and Grace Team Limited a little status report on the fire doors?
Sure.
Because he indicated that when we started the work, he paid the rent, and this may be enough to indicate that we've started.
I think I have his email. Let me see if I have his email. If I do, I'll email him or text him. Right on there.
Are we going to have any further discussion on the request from the hospital?
Not from the hospital, but we sure need to get the hospital board in here and visit with them and read to them the Kansas statutes and things like that, and have a whole sheet of resignation forms ready to go.
So then, I guess I
Talk to
should
him
just email Mr.
What now?
Benzo
Talk to him
and
about
ask
what
him.
now? I'm sorry.
We need to invite the hospital board to come to the table. I think this board needs to talk to that board, and we need to stop using a liaison who may or may not
That board works for us.
understand, right, the
Yeah.
complexities.
And they don't understand that they are in charge of that hospital. They are not an advisory board.
I have the same concern.
It's time that we have a little meeting here and make sure that everybody understands it, and those that don't wanna play with those rules shouldn't be in the job. We hire them, we can fire them.
That is very true, and I think,
Can we do that?
yes.
We can remove a board
Yes.
member anytime we want.
Yeah,
Even for whatever reason. I didn't know.
Yeah.
political reasons.
No, I'm not,
Yes,
well, I'm just curious. I just didn't know if
you
that
don't
was.
need to call us.
I'm
We
not,
serve at our pleasure.
I thought so. I just
it's
didn't
an
know.
appointment, it's an
Appointment,
appointment.
right.
And the way we take appointments is basically at our discretion. Do we take them internally? Do we individually bring them? Do we advertise? I've advocated for advertising in the past.
Well, just
because-
like when I came in, when Terry went out, then there were two in my district, and I tried
And
to
we had
ask.
already
Well, I asked 10
advertised.
people, and then we did ask, I asked Mr. Krangle, which is not in my district, but he volunteered. And then also this other guy, Jim Weber, now is in there.
No,
Yeah, Jim Weber.
no, are you talking about Mr. Webke?
No, Weber.
Weber.
There's a Weber's on the hospital board now. We just
Yeah.
appointed him here a couple months
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, Alexis.
Okay.
But he's
Must
in,
be on me.
he's in,
Did I meet
you're
him?
just-
Was
You're
he at the
thinking,
last meeting?
you're thinking
Yeah, he
John
was here.
He's
Whiskey.
been here at the last.
he was sitting
Oh,
here, sitting here right
okay,
by Alan
okay,
Screen there.
yes.
That's
okay,
Mr. Weber.
Okay,
And he's new and doesn't, he's learning what's going on. It's complicated stuff on this hospital.
but I will say, I think what the big disconnect is, in the past, when the financials were running smoothly and no one had any questions about making ends meet, then the board didn't feel that they were responsible for much oversight.
No, they
because
just
they felt like,
coasted.
oh, it's going well. Now, when there are some questionable things happening, one of which I will say is, we are making budget cuts, and I tried to point out to the administrator that that's a reflection of only what is to come when the valuation drops. So if that's going to pose a problem financially for the hospital, they need to be aware that that's something they need to be planning for.
Yeah.
And it's on them, it's not all on the administrator. I mean, you hired an administrator to execute the plan, but the plan has to come from the board.
Well, they're really gonna have to take control now because Mr. Gandal's leaving anyway, end of the year, 4 months from now, 3.5 months from now.
Exactly.
So they gotta step up. And, yeah. And I kinda apologize to you, Alexis, and the other, and Jim just come on, but I would get this report every month, but I would get it till a week
The day
later,
after
but I
the
didn't know
meeting.
it did come in, and I should've come up and got it up here in the mail. It came the Monday before the Tuesday meeting, that I did get it this last time, and Don had it. But I should've maybe showed you that, we should've went over that more with you and with Aljo, to what's going on, cause I didn't know what's going on, I'm reading all this stuff. But I should've, we could've looked over the cash and all that in there. It was in there, I just didn't realize what I had there,
Well,
on
I
that
don't
report.
blame you. I mean, I've been here longer than you,
Yeah.
and I wasn't I was just.
Well,
I
they
was
just
kind
give
of
that
under
folder
the-
that came in like to me, and I thought it was just a report of what had happened last month, and I didn't take it that serious, see, and I don't know what's going on with it, because I'm new and I don't know all this
But I
hospital
think
stuff.
here's the biggest missing link. and this is what personally what I didn't understand. Because we are a county established hospital, under the state regulations of being able to do that and appointing the board that is fiscally responsible, the commission is ultimately responsible. I did not quite grasp that going into this, thinking that they were because they're their own 501c3, they have their own employees, etc. I wasn't seeing that the commission has quite such responsibility, which was made even more evident by the fact that they attached the bonds to the commission. In the prior years, it had not been that way. When they did the reconsolidation of the bonds, or deconsolidation, refinance, however you want to put that, that actually puts that on the county for the repayment obligation.
Yeah.
So technically, when they're asking for wind farm money, that's the reserve that backs up anything that might go foul with the bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we only have in reserves what about it would take to pay them off.
That's Fred Farkle upside down in that ditch out there too.
True. Well, our insurance would hopefully cover some
Insurance.
things like that.
And also,
But we
we,
don't wanna insure ourselves.
and on the
out.
hospital thing, we wouldn't have to come up with 5 million on one chunk, we just have to pay out the 450,000 a year to make their payment.
No, but my point is, you don't know how long those wind
No.
farms are gonna stay. You don't know if at any point, if that contract ceases to exist for whatever reason, we're not gonna be able to sue somebody into paying us millions of dollars
No.
that we think we're owed. I mean, that's never gonna happen. We're just kinda sitting back being grateful that the money's coming in, but it's accumulating in a bank account that everyone says is for a rainy day. Well, we do have debt. I mean, Lincoln County doesn't have debt, but our hospital has
And
some
we're
debt, so we
responsible
need
for
to
it.
make sure that, you're right.
Yeah.
So when they come in asking for increased subsidy or web fund money, we have to remember that that's all money that we may or may not need if
And that's-
bad choices
Well, that has to
or
be treated
disastrous
as
situations
grant
happen.
money and not for operations. The web fund money.
Or emergency type
Well,
money.
but you
I
gotta
mean,
keep it as a
technically, the
grant.
bond payment itself could be like a one-time grant.
We could do that, but
Have
we
you
need,
read the bond book? Have you
I
looked at the
haven't.
bond book and looked at that particular one? I think how they got the lower interest rate was attaching the wind farm money as basically collateral. That's sort of a,
Really?
go look at it.
I have not looked at it.
I wouldn't necessarily say as collateral, but we definitely said that we had the earmark, and that's how we got the rating that we got.
Yeah, it's not exactly collateral, but it's the
We-
wind farm money.
We had that asset out there, which helped us get a cheaper loan.
And I think they kind of guaranteed
You
that
can call it
that asset
collateral.
would remain
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, well, and hopefully it will, we're hopefully repower, and then we'll keep getting more money in the future, but, like you say, that could, if the federal government quits subsidizing these windmills, that may end tomorrow too, cause they're not
Well,
making.
And all I'm saying is, if worst case scenario, when you talk about having this pot for a rainy day, the worst case scenario rainy day, not that you pay it all off at once,
No.
but that you ultimately end up paying off the
You're
full
gonna-
amount.
You'd have to eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, not that one time, but over the time you would,
And if
yeah.
you think of it this way, the subsidy that we are giving the hospital is kind of kicking itself back. It's just washing the money through. If you're talking about paying the bond payment with what we've collected from the hospital, we're doling out that in chunks anyhow, and more than that in the year. Do you see what I'm saying? So,
I mean, 500,000,
Yeah.
Yeah,
five.
yeah, we're basically paying the
that
bond
with
and then
this.
some.
Yeah,
Because I think the bond payments have only been 370 some thousand. Am I right, Tom? 370 something, I think, is what we've been paying. So we are
no, I
actually.
think it's 450, isn't it? It's gonna go down to 370, I think, next year. I think it was 450 this year.
Well, I might be. No, I might not have the numbers right, but my point is, we are actually paying the bond payment for, however you want to look at it, we're actually paying the bond payment for them and then some to subsidize the operation. Point
Yeah.
blank, because the money comes from us one way or another.
Well, hopefully they're gonna get rid of one doctor, that's currently on there, in mid-September. No, I'm talking about, Mr. Dugoni.
I think he's already on.
But his payment is going till the middle of this month, then that will end, then that'll save them some money, and then hopefully they'll get a little better operating, revenue and maybe a little less expense there.
in any case, do we need
Okay.
to schedule the board in?
The principal payment for 2019 was 305,000 and interest is 147,000. So
Yeah.
basically 453,000.
Yeah. I think it's going to
And it'll be
370.
139,350 next year for interest and 310,000 for principal. So it's about the same dollar amount.
Yeah, okay, about 4 now.
I think they're just reallocating.
I do think though,
interest
after,
and
in a year or two, it goes down to like 370 total.
it shouldn't.
Oh, I thought it did. Maybe I'm wrong, I was looking.
Are you
That'd be
confusing with
449,
the income from the
Yeah.
WIC fund?
Maybe
For
I,
the
that's
wind
what I'm
farm?
confused.
You were
Yeah.
talking about that.
That's what I'm
The
confused.
incoming.
Yeah, what we're getting
amount.
in, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think
yeah.
you were talking about that before.
Right, I'm mixing here, apples and oranges.
Okay, do we have, okay, the evaluations, I didn't get to ask Ladonna about that, and I wanted to. Do we wanna start with what we have, and first of all, establish the fact that we need an evaluation policy on top of our hiring policy and purchasing policy
You do have an evaluation policy.
in the book?
Well, not in the book, but this is the evaluation policy that was approved.
When was this approved?
Well, I'm assuming in 2017 when we did the evaluations, because it was in the folder. Then these are the employee and supervisor. I'll just take one pass. So it kind of all goes together. You keep both of those, Jim. Jim, keep both of those.
Oh, both of them? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
thanks, yeah, sorry. I
Oh,
was
these-
listening, but I wasn't hearing.
That's okay. I can look back and see make sure this was approved, but it's what was saved on the.
This is gonna require an awful lot of work to set this up.
But I will say, the reason why I did not agree to vote for the across-the-board raises this year that you guys put through is because we did have some standard of operating for the expectations. And we had departments that didn't participate with the standardized form. You know, we had the general pushback that you're gonna get, which is, well, so-and-so is getting more than so-and-so, but that, to me, was the whole point of not doing across the board. So, if we're going to tie raises to these evaluations, then maybe we need a little more clarification and a mail out that says this is gonna be the expectation for 2020. But if you don't wanna tie the raises to the evaluations, that's fine, but we still need to come up with what that means then.
Well, why would you wanna evaluate if you're not gonna put some positive reinforcement to it?
That's why I didn't vote for the 25 cents across the board.
Yeah, but this says that somebody, the supervisor, is gonna have to come up with goals and standards for each job. These are the standards, these are the things that you should meet, and then you can check them off to get a subjective or an objective evaluation. And I don't think we probably have any of those done, do we?
True, except the job descriptions, which is kind of what we went by when we were doing evaluations for department heads. We went by the job description, and I think
But
That's-
those are more subjective than objective. Job descriptions, you need more specific goals and targets, I would think.
Well,
The
Maybe
way
a way
this
to,
is read,
maybe a way to measure too, better
that's the.
job
thing.
performance. You know, how do you measure job performance? And when you're comparing a truck driver in the highway department to a nurse in the health department,
but we're not comparing those two. That was my
No,
whole
but-
point.
but
We're
it
not.
ultimately comes down that way when we give out
Well,
raises,
not really,
because you're comparing two different things there.
But
That's
the
my
nurse
whole
will
point.
have a set of things that she or he has to accomplish.
Which is
Okay.
in their
And
job
they're
description.
completely different from the truck driver. But the supervisor has to say, these were the 5 things that you should have done. You did this, you did this, you didn't do that. So it doesn't matter that they're completely different. It matters that they have accomplished the goals and they didn't accomplish, or they did 40% or whatever it is.
Okay,
Those you can compare.
okay.
But I'm
Then
gonna
what we
say,
gotta do,
with a changing board though, you want that job description to be,
consistent.
and to have those parameters in it and those expectations, because you can't just have a new, like, we're gonna come out with these policies, right? Well, that's gonna be a policy that our board agrees on. If one or more of us change and we change these policies, then you have to start all
No,
over.
I
I don't
agree.
think we wanna change the job descriptions, so, we
No.
haven't changed them so much, rather than clean them up and maybe put more specifics on them, or.
That's the things you gotta do, is you got to have things that you can measure in each job
And
description.
and we're gonna have to get our department heads to buy into what we're doing so that they really are serious about, like you say, Ladonna's over the nurse, the health department, to evaluate them like you just said, Jim, versus now Brendan's over the highway truck driver. We gotta get them to really take this serious on specifics on, that's what I'm saying. Because before it was too vague maybe, but you gotta get really specific on, did you really got better at driving a truck? Did you cross train to be a loader driver and a grader driver? You know, so we gotta have parameters that we can measure, that you say, okay, you are better, you get a raise, and you didn't, you're okay, but you don't get a raise much because you're only doing the bare minimum. In other words, I didn't have a good way before, well, that's why I wanted the quarter, only reason I did the quarter raise or voted for it, or made the motion, was because we were in an uncertain area and we were just stalling out here and we had to move along because of the whole budget and stuff. That's why I did. Want to get this over with this year, and now I think we can do it better this year, next year. That's what I'm thinking, and hopefully. And I know I talked to you guys, and you, Aljo, Terry, and you did a good job of starting this evaluation, but I didn't think it was.
You don't have
no,
enough.
it's
I didn't
a lot
think,
of
yeah, I think there was a lot,
handling.
there wasn't real clear yet to me on what was going on, you know?
I think we ought to continue this. I think it
Yeah, I
ought to
do
be known
too.
that in 2020, we're gonna have it. That just means between now and 2020, we got to have this completed and
No,
done.
and it is tough. I think it's tough because we do have different departments, but you have, if we had all the same management buying in together on how to do this performance.
Right, I just
That's
wanna
the key.
say that the first time is always gonna be like this.
Oh, yeah.
When you have people that are working
Unorganized.
for, and apparently some departments have done it some in the past, but what I'm saying is to have a standard of expectation that is being applied for the first time, you're always gonna get that pushback.
Yeah.
That's the only, I'm
Yeah.
not upset with what you did,
No.
I think you made the best decision for the employees,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be viewed
Well,
as
I
the person
wanted-
who's not supporting the employees, but on that same token, I'm also the one who came in and was putting my foot down saying this has to happen at some point.
No, and I agree, but
And it wasn't happening.
And I agree with you, and will support you on doing this. I just thought at that time,
I understand.
I was wanting to get the whole thing over with because we was in
And that's
we
fine.
were in a mess on the whole thing.
I have
But
no-
I do agree, if we could really get, some metrics, maybe, where we quantify performance. Now, that may be tough to do, because,
No, I mean,
The
we can get,
supervisor's gonna have to do that.
well, there you go, we're gonna
Each
have to talk to each department head, you gotta really be serious about this performance stuff, and, but they're still gonna have.
there are thousands of templates out there.
Yeah.
So it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel.
I know, but we're still gonna have prejudice and bias, because one manager says, well, I'm gonna rate my guys all the highest I can, so they all get a raise.
But that's for us to look at
That's right.
and then do the department head evaluation after we've seen them
Okay.
produce the evaluation for
Okay,
theirs.
okay, but
That's-
be forewarned, that's always gonna happen, you know that.
But that's
But
the
That's
that's
human,
nature
also,
of
that's
it.
human nature.
that's also part of their evaluation too.
Okay.
Yeah,
But the
that's what
thing,
I'm saying.
what I recommend we do is we, announce that we're gonna do it, but have our department heads come in and show us their measurable goals on each of the jobs. And then we'll take a look at that, and if they're all gonna say they walk on water, whatever they say, if they don't have something they can measure and compare,
That's what we need to do.
but they need to come in to us and show us what they got, and we'll say, that's a good metric, you guys go ahead and use it.
Right, and they gotta say, this guy he's cross-trained, he's early, he never misses, he's never late, or that way, give me the evidence why this guy deserves a 5 rating or a 4 rating. Give me the evidence and a
I think
metric,
Well,
that
and
the
then
we
we can
have
say,
an outline
okay.
for that. We do have an outline for that,
Okay.
because some of those headings say like their time, their punctuation, their, are they
Yeah.
punctual, or that kind of thing is already
Or you-
named. But
yeah.
you're saying it's not measured other than them just sticking a number to it 1 through 5.
Right.
And so then we're
It
taking
was
that.
too vague before being specific to me, Alexis.
Well, and like I said, there are templates upon templates out there.
Well, maybe
We don't have to
yeah.
reinvent the wheel. We
Yeah.
can just ask for the input from the department heads on how they would like to see it done. I'm imagining that they would just like a checklist, and then you scale that with numbers and
Yeah.
measure.
But they need to do it, they just need to come in with.
I almost think they should give a handwritten little essay, not a big deal, but a handwritten little thing says, My employee Joe this year has done good, he's learned this.
Okay,
He's
for
not very good on
example-
this. That way then you can get more personable instead of a check mark. Yeah, does he comply with A, B?
But
Yeah.
you need both, you need the measurement and you need the
I'm gonna use
narrative.
that as an example, because
Yeah.
what you said is right. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to read that.
Personal, you wanna get more personal.
Well, and it helps you assess what the differences may be, like you said, between a nursing job and a
Right.
grader operator. But we saw that because we have a format for that somewhat.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed that those people who just refused to answer the questions on the self-evaluation got the same raise as someone who actually said, you know what? I would like to learn how to blah, 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 blah this year. I feel like that's unfair.
Yeah.
Because part of their self-evaluation should count, not just what the supervisor says. And so therefore, that's my greatest disappointment, to see that someone would just not even remark on anything,
Yeah.
and someone else would take the time to say, I like this about my job, but I think this needs addressed, and they don't get, there's no differentiation.
I know.
So,
And I agree with that on that. And the next year, I will be buying with you this next year, Alexis, they give raises or performance raises based on, what do you call it? What kind of raises? What's the word?
Well, let's put the word out to the department head and say, we want you to come in.
Merit raises. But we're giving merit raises now based on your evaluation, and we're serious about it, and we want you to be serious about it. And if you're not, that's gonna hurt you. And tell your supervisors, if you're not serious about your employees, it's gonna hurt you and your employees. So take it serious and be honest. Don't be bragging on them all because you think we're gonna give them the max raise. That ain't gonna help you either. We need to be honest that way too.
well, and that's, like Mr. Gibbons said, that's a reflection on their management.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
if you can see that someone's just coming in to befriend everyone and give everyone the max leniency on everything, that doesn't help us, that doesn't help the organization. They
Sure.
need to be reprimanded for that type of
You're a
behavior.
poor manager when you do that. You're not being fair to them, you're not being fair to us.
But you're right, the metrics thing is missing.
Well,
in
a
that-
little bit, yeah,
It
a
is.
little, yeah, see, it was a little too vague, because when you have the check mark, he performs well in all things, you go 1 to a 5, well, he does good, a 4, what the hell does that mean, really? And I wanna know specifically, this guy's ambitious, he's willing to work, he got his job done over here, he goes out and finds more work on his
Right.
own without you have to tell him, I wanna know
Right.
that.
He
And that's
offers
the
to
people
be
we
the
want.
one to come in.
That's the
overtime
people I
if
wanna
we need it.
reward, who are,
Right.
can work on their own without being told what they have to do every
So
5
maybe
minutes.
we also need to say that the max raise that is budgeted for, I mean, this is the only way the county can save money. And I'm thinking
Yep.
from the money perspective, which I'm always criticized for, but that's what I'm
No, but I
seeking
agree with you
for.
on money.
From the money perspective, the only way we can afford to constantly have this scale where there are available raises is to say that top raise is reserved only for those people who do put in beyond that effort. It's not gonna be attainable, don't expect that as an attainable number every year. The year that you do more is the year that you get that, and that may not be every year because you may not even have the opportunity to do
Yeah.
more in a given
And
year.
in the real world where I work too, it was that way.
Exactly.
There was real
A
merit raises,
bonus
based on bonus.
kind of
It's like a
concept.
bonus.
It is like a bonus because
Yeah.
we're not gonna give end of the
Well,
year.
sometimes they
bonuses.
did give just a cash bonus instead of say so many per hour raise. They would say, you did pretty good this year, Alexis, here's another $1,000, but they gave somebody else say a quarter of or a 50-cent an hour raise.
This
Exactly.
So
raise ought to be looking
Yeah.
like a bell curve.
Right.
Yeah.
There ought to be a
Right.
bunch of people at the bottom don't get a raise.
And unfortunately, life is circumstantial. So if I had a bad year where a lot of things in my life went wrong, maybe my work performance was very poor. And that could be reflected in my not getting a raise. That doesn't mean you're undervalued or that you're not appreciated or we don't want you long term.
Yeah.
But sometimes that is just a circumstance of employment that we can't, and I call it, I'm not talking about Lincoln County when I say this, it's the government mentality. Where you're all in an equal plane and everybody's gonna get stepped up as you are just
Yeah.
aging.
Based
It's
on
not about your age.
Based on longevity.
Yeah, we can't afford to do that is what I'm saying, because then what do? You end up with a workforce that is all of retirement age, getting the top wages, working the least amount because they're physically unable, and they're getting the biggest benefit package because they're needing it.
Yeah.
We can't afford that.
But
So-
that's the whole world. And that's just,
Yeah,
but in private sector, you can't be laying some guy for 20 years, been in there.
Yes, you can.
Well, not, but if
They're
they,
not doing their,
Well, if
they're
they're
not
not-
doing their job and you can't.
yeah, but it's
afford
hard to do it where I was, because I was working in big Boeing and that would have 50,000 people in one complex. And those people were up there and it'd be very tough to get rid of them. Now, I know what they would do is try to buy them out. They would say, this guy's making 80 grand a year, and you hire some junior programmer making 30, and they would say, because he is so expensive, they'd say, here, we'll buy you out because,
Right.
but they didn't fire him, because they just say, then you'd be
If
fine.
you have an employee that's marginal, you can have a big company, you can say you'll get no more raises, no more pay,
Yeah.
You can
and no
chop
more
them out.
promotions.
Well, they did buy a lot of them out. But anyway, that's a whole different world. But, and also, you know what, I don't know, maybe we're talking, I know evaluations here. You know, our biggest one of the expense is, employee,
Benefits.
and also just wages. So like when we say have somebody retire, say the highway department, we should evaluate whether we really need to replace these people.
Attrition. Right.
And now if we really need them, we should hire them, but if we can have, when 4 people are doing one office and 1 leaves, maybe we could have 3 do that job and pay them a little more.
Exactly.
Then we'd have less one benefit package to give out. Because that's the way to save money, attrition here. Because it's hard to save money on a lot of things, but we should through attrition. Like now, the highway department, we're low on a few people because they've left. Do we need to hire all them spots that quit? I don't know, do we? It's something we need to think about, and Brenda needs to think about. If he can operate with 3 bridge crew instead of 4, maybe let's do 3 bridge crew instead of 4. But
We also have to remember in Lincoln County specifically that our ratio of county workers to populace is very high compared to where you have in other areas. So unfortunately for us in our seats politically, every time you're talking about a county job, it's also a private person's spouse or a private tax-paying voter's person's brother or et cetera.
Yeah.
And so it becomes very personal,
Oh, yeah.
so and so.
And then it gets
It's
very political.
connected. Right.
because
And that's unfortunate for us, but we just have to deal with that.
Yeah.
I still think to make decisions where you have the vested interest of the county, you have to understand the frugality of not just creating a job to create a job. It's the cross-training concept has been lost here, and the responsibility that an individual is shouldering and tying that to a dollar amount. I mean, I've seen Don, just gonna use it as an example, but like I've seen Don take on all these multiple roles to fill in the gaps when needed, but that doesn't necessarily come with a pay increase for you. I mean, it has recently, I think the board has done that for you, like with the HR situation, but you were doing all of that before with
You were
no
HR
financial
anyway.
compensation.
see, you're cross-trained all over the world. Well, I think we should do that now. No, you are, and that's a compliment, John. I hope you know
Yep,
that.
CDL,
No, yeah.
for hiring.
Yeah, you wanna drive a truck
Less
when you're
headaches,
at
yeah.
midnight. But we should try to promote more of that, say the highway department, so all those guys can, if we have an office manager now, we need to cross-train somebody in there because we don't want an office manager to leave again and then nobody knows how to turn the computer on.
Well, and that's the other thing, there should be a severance policy where if you're your severance pay to be paid on your time accumulated and all of that is dependent upon you training the next fill-in for a certain amount of time. A lot of companies do that. I mean, I don't know if there are any legalities to that because I know that if you're an employer where you have to comply with all the other regulations, a smaller employer can kind of get away with that kind of stuff. So I don't know, I would have to check into the HR side of that. But really, if you're gonna leave and take another job, you should be required to come back and put in some kind of training that's how it works in the real world. I mean, if you're gonna get paid out for your...
Or your job itself is actually in a notebook and everything that you do every single day is documented.
Well, it should be documentation. Yeah, when you leave the documents there, and the
Right.
computer's there, and the files on the computer's there,
Right,
and the phone
yeah.
number's there.
Yeah, and don't erase your
Right.
emails.
You don't take all, that ain't cool.
I think there's a struggle because I think everybody has a different personality. And my personality is I want to try to help the best that I can. But I have to be able to admit when I have limitations, and I have hit my limitations. Not everybody is that way though. And when you do the evaluation process, sometimes it feels like those people are the people that are rewarded the most. The ones that aren't willing to help or aren't willing to step forth, but then the ones that are working their butts off and willing to do more aren't. And it's all based upon what the supervisor says. And that's the hard thing about evaluations.
That's right, that's what I try
But
to
that's
tell
why
them.
the self-evaluation does play a role, and that needs to be expressed to the employee. If you sit here and don't fill this out, don't expect us to think that you're putting in effort. You can't even put effort on the paper when we ask you what's going on with your job. So I think even if the self-evaluation is going back to that supervisor, you still have to be the type of person that puts down what your struggles are or what your goals are. I mean, a lot of these people didn't even list goals for themselves. How can you not have a goal at work? At least
Some people
one.
just ain't that ambitious, Alexis. They just come to a job and they think they got their job.
So
or
then why do they
don't,
deserve
you
the
know?
25 cents then?
They don't.
Well, maybe not.
Well-
But then the thing is, I'm afraid though, if we reward, like they'll be talking, say we give some raises next year in any department, and people are gonna find out, oh, so-and-so got a quarter raise, 50-cent raise. Well, Joe didn't get nothing. Joe's teed off, he quits. Well, I don't wanna see that happen either, where we get tee people off and then they all quit on us either, you know?
I think some of it is us though. Some of those people don't know that they should have goals
Yeah.
because we don't encourage them to have goals. Or we don't ask them, what are your goals, and make that to be
Right, which
a
is a
regular
valid point.
process.
And if we did evaluations this year and we do them next year, then we sit down and we say, you wrote this as a goal. Did you reach it? And how did you reach that? And there it becomes measurable. So they have to be told that you need to write your goal on this piece of paper as your evaluation. And then see, now we're gonna go into year number 2 where you can go back and look and see what is the difference between last year and this year. Did you make improvements or did you have shortfalls on whatever area? And then you discuss that. And if a person's not willing to make those improvements, do you really want them working for you?
Yeah. But maybe if we get hard up for employees, maybe we need them to work for us,
But
Alexis.
that's the same mentality that gets us into that situation.
Yeah, but we don't have a pool of people out there that's knocking the door trying to get a job
We just
either.
need, when we put out
But we
our,
also haven't rewarded who is here properly, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
we just need to
that's
put
a done.
these instructions out to the troops so they can see that
And we
this
don't,
is the form you're gonna have to fill out, and this is what you're gonna do. This is the form that your supervisor's gonna fill out on you. You need to keep these things in mind, because it's gonna happen.
and unfortunately, I think we'll be in the government thing where we have the same job year after year after year, the highway department, all these. There's like no career advancement opportunities for a lot of people. It's like a dead-end job. A lot of them guys are out here, no, they're never gonna get nothing but the job they're doing 20 years from now, they'll be doing today, run the grader or something. Some of them are happy with that, but some say, well, I'm just at a dead-end job, the heck with this. That's one of our whole problems, and I don't know if we'll ever fix that, because we're a county government where these are our jobs. And it ain't like you can go up some ladder and become CEO someday.
But, okay, but there you go. Now that goes back to the explanation of the benefits.
You know?
If, I'm not saying you want to be the type of employer that only attracts people that have a desperate need for benefits, but if it weighs in for your life, then you see that, okay, I have every holiday off. When my kids are off of school, I'm off too. I don't have to put in overtime. It's not really required for most positions. You know, what do you start off with? 2 weeks vacation the
They get-
first year?
they get
That's
12.
unbelievable.
They get 12 hours a month, don't they, Don?
12 times 12 is
Yeah,
144
which is
hours.
high, because
That's
when I
huge.
worked for Boeing, I only
That's
got,
3, yeah.
when I worked for Boeing, I worked I get 1 week for the first 2 years,
Exactly.
and then a 2 week and a day, then a week another day. Hey, you gotta be there 5 years before you get 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And 10 years before you get 3 weeks.
So that's what I'm
So-
saying,
You
to
guys picked the
emphasize
wrong
the
career.
benefits package is
We got good
part of
benefits.
I
it.
got
Well, and
60
that's like
days
when
a
we went
year.
to Ladonna's down there,
You got
and
60
girls
days
all
of
told us,
vacation a year?
and the benefits why they're there. So we wanna make sure we keep a good benefit,
Military
to keep our
does.
good employees. And
See,
I know
I
they're
don't get
expensive.
anything.
I know they're
And-
expensive, but.
And I think that's what kind of frustrates me is, you know, the employees are upset about the 80 hours. Okay, maybe it should be a little bit more, I don't know. I can tell you that I always made sure that I had a good carryover, because of course I was also the person that had children, and I was the lower paid, so I was the one that always took off work if at all possible, because if Ray was gone, like Ray worked out for Careco's for 20-some years, and Treasters before that, before they signed off. And when he left, he was only getting 2 weeks of vacation a year. That was it.
Yeah.
And
Right, and so what you're saying is 80 hours is 2 weeks. That means they can
But-
have over a month off every year. You can't afford to be an employer with a limited amount of employees,
Right.
giving everybody 3 months off in a
Yeah.
year. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. I
Right.
mean, that's just part of the cycle. If you know you can be gone for an entire month out of a year, never had that.
Yeah. Well, and
And
like
only
for
people-
me, having the 80-hour carryover forces people to take time off, and I think that's a good thing. Because I'll be honest with you, I probably wouldn't be as angry or as tired as I am if I was forced to take time off. But I don't get vacation time because I'm an elected official. So basically I don't take time off. But if I was losing my time, I would sure as heck take the
But
time
you
off.
are, and this is just, I mean, you're an elected official, so I have to say it's an open session, but you are a salaried person who should take your own time off. Because you come in to do your job when it's not open business hours, and so that's on you to start scheduling your own time off. And
Yes.
make sure that your staff can handle this particular day with or without you. And you know what, if someone calls and they need you, it's not the end of the world that they have to wait a day or weekend or
No.
whatever.
No.
You're gonna have to just do that.
Yes, and that's the thing, like with the vacation and the carryover of the 80 hours does, is it forces those employees to
Because
take
they know
off.
they're not gonna get it
Because
if they
were all,
save it.
yeah, if they were all getting paid at the end of the time, I mean, we'd have the same problem that we had before, where we had $250,000 to $500,000 on the books that we owe people. Because they'd rather wait and
Accumulate
get
their
the
time
check.
pay, yeah.
And I mean, it has its pluses and its minuses, but yes. So if they carry over two weeks, then technically they have over a full month. And what employees kind of forget is, of that 12 hours of it, 8 hours is really vacation, 4 hours is sick leave. They don't look at it that way though. They only look at it as 12 hours.
Which I would still like to change that terminology, because as you guys heard in the highway department meeting, there's some confusion about why you can't access your extended illness leave when it is legitimately a sick leave. But it's because we don't accumulate sick time and it's all paid time off. The
Yeah.
extended illness is only if you have extenuating circumstances around an illness,
Yeah.
which you still have to use 3 days of your PTO. So, and I
Yeah.
think that's fine. I mean, if someone really...
Well, as long as they know the rules, know why, and we explained it to them pretty well. See, a lot of them don't understand what's really going on
Well, and some
in
of these people
detail.
have worked here a long time.
That's why I think it's good we have this talk, and I think every year we ought to have a department meeting with like we did with the fried chicken, and do it again, because they can talk. No, or we can have whatever, I'm just saying.
I know, I'm just laughing because last week you
Because
guys
of
were like,
fried chicken.
but did they do it after 5 o'clock?
Oh, fried chicken? Well, I didn't know. I thought they shut the kitchen down and never made fried chicken till the next day. I didn't know you
Hey,
could order
I mean,
last week.
we got an email from Brendan. It says the representative I spoke with informed me that since the email is not an Office 365 account and is a GoDaddy account set up by the clerk's office, the emails are not able to be retrieved.
I bet they can be though on his Outlook, because they're bringing into
Okay, I will
Outlook.
reply.
It's not, because they're not being saved out on.
Yeah. Brendan probably should have read David's email. Sometimes it's what question you ask.
I say he probably doesn't understand that.
Yeah, sometimes it really is, how did you ask the question? Which is why we have all the problems with the nursing home thing. We didn't know how to ask the right
You just need
question.
to
That's
get the tech
amen to
team,
that.
get the tech team in the office, physically present for duty in the office. Say,
Because he's
"Fix
not,
this."
he's not just using the web server, he's using Outlook, which is downloading it off the web server. So it should be someplace.
We're still here, Howard. Wanna come in?
It's raining out.
Is it really?
Awesome.
Awesome.
It was so
We don't need no
muggy.
rain.
I need rain.
You do?
Good
Been
morning.
raining. Had 8 inches in August, wasn't that enough?
Okay.
Oh my
Do you
God.
want that? I gotta come to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Job description.
Okay.
Evaluation. Okay. So, may I send a department head email and say we would appreciate that you would find some templates that you'd like us to work with for the new evaluation forms?
And ask them to discuss it maybe the 24th of September.
24th. That's,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
okay.
Yeah, it's good to give the department heads and coordinate with them what they'd like to see.
Are we gonna divvy the county department heads up as points of contact someday?
No, I think it has to come from the board.
Well, no, I mean, this is a whole different subject, actually, what you're talking. We were thinking about dividing, 2 or 3 heads of departments. And when we're not in session, they can come and express their concerns to one of us.
Oh, you mean, well, I think they can talk to any of us
Well,
anytime. they
yeah, I
want.
don't have
Like
a
a
problem.
board liaison, like they
yeah.
said, auto, or.
You
But
brought
don't
that
you
up.
think that's the HR person's job when we finally get them? I mean,
Yeah, he just brought that up one time.
Well, I brought it up here recently because we
because
did.
there's so much going on.
Well, we
at
didn't have
once.
HR,
I
we
know.
don't have nobody in the highway department. I just kinda went down there and tried to get with Liz and
I know.
trying to keep the place halfway. You know, I don't know if I did anything, probably made things worse. But it sounds.
So anyway, that's OBE, we got that done.
Yeah, well, we
I
have,
think that when the HR person steps in, and I like what you suggested about having them do the secretarial duties of the board,
Yeah.
because that takes that away from the clerk's office as an extra follow-up, because there are things where we just make a motion and then we leave.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, who is supposed to follow up on the motion?
Mhm.
I guess technically, if this were being run like a committee board, the executive board would follow through on that, but we are the board and the executive board, and we can't really meet, because we have a quorum too,
No,
so.
we need a secretary. to do
I
all the
believe
legal
that's
line
probably
stuff.
the good
You bet.
contact point. Oh, we didn't look at the HR. We need to do that. So we need a 5, or how many are there?
Good question.
Oh,
5 of them.
okay.
I did copy them, I just didn't count.
That's all right.
That's
So we
all right.
need to review,
yeah, let's look at them while we're here.
Well,
Maybe we'd make an ad for that too this week. But,
yes, that's, yeah.
uh,
Oh, not an ad, an interview.
yeah, an interview, I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't heard of that one, Stan Salters? You know what it is, have you?
no, they made arrangements yesterday, and, it was in the paper this morning.
Oh, okay, I'll find out.
It's in the,
Okay.
it was in the paper.
All right.
It's gonna be at St. Paul, the burial in St. Paul, but I
Okay.
don't know what time, I didn't pay attention to the time.
Or what day, huh?
Oh, did you combine a donation already for the memorial?
She sent one in, I sent one in separately.
Okay,
Not,
okay.
I
If
I
you didn't,
still have the card upstairs.
signed a card Don
Okay.
had, I had,
I'll sign that. and
I
I'll
was
just
gonna
one
send
separately,
memorial
too.
separately.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. Good. I was hoping you two didn't do it without me.
No, we didn't do any, I probably shouldn't do it as a commission.
That's
should we?
fine.
No, individually.
That's
no.
fine.
I mean, I don't know what the policy is for that.
works for me, cause you'll have to donate to mine, I won't have to donate to yours.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know. The meeting for the department heads is the 24th?
Yes,
Okay.
I didn't hear a time, doesn't matter.
What is the 24th, a Monday?
I know it, but it's in an email upstairs and.
I got it here, obviously. That's a Tuesday.
Have we any outstanding candidates there?
I didn't really look, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, I'm just
I
gonna,
copied, but
Can we have them out?
once we go in executive
Oh,
session,
okay.
otherwise they become mandatory.
yeah, I would entertain a motion if you want. I think we have 5, so we need 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Would that be okay? It is 2:15.
I'll make a motion, we'll go into executive session, recess into executive session for 15 minutes for the purpose of discussing,
We did number 1, I don't
to, HR applications. Pursuant to KSA 75-4312B, number 1, to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, to reconvene into the commissioner's room when finished.
I'll
15
second.
minutes, yep.
With who present?
With the commission present and the acting HR person.
Sorry.
or county clerk combination.
Okay, and you seconded that, Jim?
She did
Oh,
that.
Alexis.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I could, gotta start being. I think I'm trying to type and lose track.
So I guess Truett's gonna give us a,
He
I
said
won't
he
call
agreed
him,
to
but-
bring us back the information, which is all we can do right now, and I already
That's
emailed that
fine,
woman.
yeah,
Oh, did I call for vote? Those
did.
in,
no.
no, sorry, those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, thank you.
Okay. So I,
All of it,
Let's
not
do-
just the,
Yeah.
not just the payroll stuff.
Let's try
A
that.
VBA does all of it.
That sounds good.
so you wanna do 3 or 2?
2.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
We need to give all them back, to you, all the other ones too?
Well, that's up to you, but they do have people's social security numbers on them, so you just need to remember that we need to destroy them, so.
Well, I'll give, you
We're
want,
all done.
you want these other ones back? I'll give them to you. I don't really need them. I got enough paper here for,
Okay.
last me a long time.
You know, I was thinking about that, maybe we need our own, like when we get finalized in here, like our own computer with a paper shredder, because I've just had a lot of problems for 2.5 years hauling stuff everywhere, and I know it's inconvenient, because sometimes now, I used to take it home and not have it here, and now I leave it here, don't take it home. But there has to be a happy medium, and I think it's leaving stuff here because it's a more secure location. I mean, if something, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you wanna get rid of your own papers, that's fine, but I think here, if we don't need something, we can shred it, recycle it, and get it. Do you
Yeah.
recycle the paper?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we have a shredder upstairs, I mean, if you
Is
want
Is
to
it
sit
in the
it.
treasurer's office?
No, it's in the computer room.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll just use that. We don't need our own, but we do need a computer.
Which, speaking of the computer room, somebody suggested, and the more I think about it, the more I think it is maybe kind of a good idea, even though I'm only in office of 2. Some of my issues with not being able to get things done is because I'm right there where people can
To
walk
the
in and
public.
see me, to the public. And somebody suggested that maybe I set up a little office in the computer room, and when I need to get something done,
Go in
that
there.
I go in there so that they can't
You mean where you're storing all your machinery?
election stuff.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. I
And it's
agree.
like, you know, I got to thinking about it. At first I was like,
And then put up a do not disturb sign.
Or close the door.
well, you would just basically close the door.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then people wouldn't
then-
necessarily
and then if-
know that
if-
I'm there.
And if somebody's coming and looking for you, Hannah can just say you're out.
Mhm.
But, yeah, that way you don't get interrupted every 5 minutes.
Well,
That'd
now
be
we
fine
know
with
where
me.
to
Kind of been thinking about it.
Yeah.
You don't need our approval for that, do you?
go.
No, not necessarily.
No,
Just
but I do think that's a good idea.
If you want to, so that's
think
fine,
on it
it's
a
fine with me
little bit.
personally. Do you have enough, how are your computers? Are they functioning correctly, or are they good, or?
Well, we bought all the brand new
You
ones
got-
because ours was having issues.
Now, we still gotta deal with Nextech's coming back with their proposal to us, same thing,
Yeah, and I'm just gonna tell you, you need to take some Tums before you look at it.
Money wise.
Well, that's the trouble,
But we didn't budget for that.
I know, but all of the computers that need to be updated, it's just astronomical. It's like $73,000. And so they're kind of like working on that TAS program where they would own the equipment, but then you're kind of locked into them. You don't have any choices if
Do
you
we
don't own your
have,
own equipment.
like, do
We
we
just, like,
have,
then
or
we
we
just
get, can
lease
we
it.
be presented by another company? I mean, we don't have any other options in front of us yet.
Well, Wilson came in and looked, and they were gonna give us bids, but then they were like, there's something wrong with their numbers, and they come back and looked at all the new equipment, and I haven't heard back
Okay.
from them.
Wilson Communications?
Yes, and
Alright.
Eagle kinda did the same thing.
You think you
Okay.
should, maybe,
This is for
My
the,
struggle with Eagle is I don't like to have all my eggs in one basket. And maybe that's not the right
Th-
terminology,
is
but
this for the IT contract? Is that what we're saying? Okay, I just wanna make sure I have that
yes.
We had,
worded
we
correctly.
had good
I will
luck.
make
We
it.
went with, Wilson,
You did,
yeah,
at the funeral home.
yeah.
no, you don't have too many.
Personally, I
I
don't
know
really like
Wilson
him.
is a business, but
We had them, you what?
Personally, I don't really like him. But I don't know what
Wilson?
their workers are.
Wilson?
Yeah, we never see the boss anymore. We get the guys that come up there
The
The
tech rep,
actual text.
the tech rep people. Now, when you was talking about 70-some thousand, that's to buy all this hardware new.
It's to buy,
Well, it's
it's
because
to upgrade the equipment.
to Windows 10, right?
Mhm.
Well, I wonder if we could almost, have you ever looked into just leasing the hardware? But you said then we're stuck locked in with
That's
them.
what the task that they're gonna bid is, and I think that's what Wilson was gonna do too, is what equipment needs to be
Because
replaced.
they're saying every 3 years you need new anyway, and you're gonna get new operating system 3 years from now is gonna be different than Windows 10. They're gonna tell us that ain't good anymore. So we're gonna never be ending in this cycle of doing that.
Pretty
So-
much, I think what you're moving towards is where you basically kind of lease your equipment where you're upgrading it all the time. Where right now, basically what we're doing is we are only replacing computers when they die. Now, I don't know, does that put us in a security risk? Yes and no, but I don't wanna be the person that gets sued because our county got hacked and all of our private information was stolen.
Yeah.
Or worse,
Isn't
they
that why we have
ransom
insurance?
the county. I'm surprised they haven't tried, but maybe they have. Some counties and cities.
Some
have been
counties
locked
have
up
been
in
hit.
Well, I've heard
ransomware.
some government offices been held ransomware, and they say pay me 50,000, and you can't get on there, everything's locked tight, and people have actually paid.
Now, see, Jerry, the transportation bus guy, had one of our old computers, and he did that. Of course, he didn't open up, well, what he did is he didn't open up the email. What he did was he replied back to him, nice try.
Yeah.
Infected him.
Yeah.
So the very first thing I did was went and unplugged him from the computer, or I unplugged the network,
Yeah.
which they said was like our savings grace. Because he was like, I can't do anything, and it's saying this.
He locked
and-
it up because he answered back, then it stuck him, he got loaded up that
So then I
virus.
wonder
or
why when
whatever.
I open that commission email, it keeps telling me like that.
I
You
don't
might-
know,
You might
that's,
have some type of virus on that
Do
thing.
you not have your own firewall?
Yeah, we do.
Who's through Next Tech should have one for us,
the county does, yes,
that
but
county.
you're
does.
hitting the,
You
you're
got a
hitting
private
my-
one here,
Yeah.
she doesn't have one on that thing.
No, I mean, she's attached to the county,
But only,
To the server.
just the Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi. You don't have a firewall before it comes out?
Right, she's just hitting what's considered the public Wi-Fi.
Public.
You don't have a,
She's not logging into the actual county software, only the public software.
It
Or
is
sys-
weird
or
that it's
system.
doing it.
that has never given me that message ever, except for 2 or 3 times when I've been in here, just opening
Yeah, it
that
looked like
email.
you- looked
Nothing,
like you-
no
yeah.
other, I've been on the internet, looking at other stuff, or
Well,
opening my personal email.
What you could do is open up your email at home and see if it does that. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I've never
opened up-
tried to open the commission email from anywhere other than here. The one
Cause
to
it's
the
just
board.
on the GoDaddy, it's just on a website, you're just opening the web version of the email. That's where I said, like, with him there, they're actually downloading it into Microsoft Outlook. So,
Okay, I replied to him that, so we'll see what he says.
but it'd be interesting to know if you get that message outside, cause I opened up my GoDaddy here, the web version, to see if I received your email, and it didn't do it,
Yeah, weird.
so
Okay.
it is strange.
Any further business to come before the board?
I don't think so.
If not, we will adjourn until Thursday evening at 6 p.m.
At the EMS
Yes,
department.
yes.
Best good in Kentucky.
And you're gonna get the order in with Carrie, right?